blood from a rock. I woke up with a headache, exhausted because I didn't sleep at all the night before. And you know that feeling, like when you didn't sleep at all the night before, you're oddly constantly reminding yourself the next day that you didn't sleep, and everything just felt off. And really, as I'm speaking now, things still kind of do. And so I got up and I sort of played with the idea of taking the day off altogether, right? Maybe I'm due for one anyway. I thought about resting. The little devil with the pitchfork on my shoulder continuously reminded me how great sleep would feel. And I was sitting there, kind of weighing my options. Took some ibuprofen, started the coffee, sat down on the couch, just kind of looking at the wall, what to do. But realistically, I knew. And I want to explain why. Over the years, I've taught myself through repetition that sitting down and writing and recording, unless I plan intentionally to do otherwise, is a non-negotiable. It's helped me see that the goal in any meaningful pursuit should be getting to the point where, despite the circumstances, you show up. Stephen Pressfield, whose voice often echoes in my mind when I come face to face with these situations, he wrote, "Art is war between ourselves and the forces of self-sabotage that would stop us from doing our work. The artist is a warrior." Artist being anyone bringing something to the world that does not yet exist. And he goes on to describe the battle with the mind over sitting down in that chair and writing when we know we must write but don't want to. When a tired or distracted mind begins looking for off-ramps, as mine had clearly started doing this morning. These seemingly trivial moments, when any rational soul could argue for the validity of postponing their date with Microsoft Word, well, they come to matter more than ever. Because greatness is a byproduct of intentionality. If you become accustomed to breaking promises to yourself, if you leave that door cracked for exceptions here and there, it will ultimately be kicked open. And that's why I inject little reminders like that into my life, to keep that mental muscle working. For example, there can never be dishes left in my sink when I go to bed. Why? Because if I skip it once, there will always exist reasons to skip again. It's a very easy thing to not care about. Because here is the reality. Progress is a lifestyle. Growth is a lifestyle. At least if we're talking about any meaningful type of evolution. I just finished reading It Takes What It Takes by Trevor Moawad. One of those 3 to 5 hour listens on Audible, depending on how fast it's playing. It really packs a punch. And I'm going to be diving into a few of his concepts a little more in the coming weeks. But one thing he discusses that I found incredibly valuable is the illusion of choice. And what the illusion of choice highlights is that there are a set of behaviors that must be carried out to be effective. The idea of alternate routes is an illusion. There are no choices when it comes to what's necessary. We know what must be done to win. Now, knowing that is one thing. Knowing that and having to propel yourself to action when you feel like garbage is something different entirely. But that's why it's so valuable to get to that place where you can take the emotion out, remove the internal deliberation, and automate the things you know are going to help push you to be that better version of yourself. In other words, you show up for you, period, and that is a non-negotiable. That's the level we all need to get to. And I'm thinking about this, drawing parallels to a lot of different aspects of my day, right? The interval training I have this afternoon. When you're exhausted, 40 minutes in, and are switching from squats to mountain climbers or whatever it is, right? Instructor makes the announcement. I don't think about anything. I don't give myself a chance to try and rationalize any weakness. I know, if this is important to me, keep that door shut. No thinking, just doing. Next. Simply doing what you always do, what you've signed up for, cannot be self-perceived as some monumental sacrifice. No, it's just what you do. It's neutral. Sometimes you feel like it, sometimes you don't, but you do what you do. And that puts you on track to accomplish some incredible things. And so remembering this ultimately pushed me through that studio door this morning and placed me down right in front of my mic. Sure, I had to adjust some things. Definitely picked some, mellower music. There's gonna be no crescendos today or my head will explode. But this is not torture. In fact, I'm really happy with the way the episode's turning out. I would have missed out on something that I think is gonna be pretty valuable in a variety of ways. But what I'm telling myself is that this is not a victory. It's certainly not defeat. It's just what I do. And so the question worth asking yourself when facing the adversity life presents, in whatever arena you are in, is, are you willing to show up for you? Can you turn that internal deliberation switch off when it comes to the necessities before you? Minimize that rationalizing that I battled with this morning. We don't need or want that. There should be no thinking, no cracked doors, no metaphorical dishes in the sink. If you decide something is important and you sign that dotted line, when it's time to execute, you act. And then you move directly onto the next. The goal is to not even negotiate with weakness. Now, that's not to say Pressfield's aforementioned war of art won't rage on as you journey to the new horizons you've set out for. But just like anything, it's an understanding that will help you focus, will help you say no to the distractions and the minutia, and continue writing your story, constructing your reality line by line and piece by piece. Mark Twain said the two most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. The first gets you into the show, and the second asks, what will you do with your time here? What will you make of this sunrise? Because we only get so many. And I think there's immense value in understanding that each and every one of us are here to leave this place better than we found it. To stand up when we could be sitting down, step out, and make something of the chaotic and often hard to understand world around us. When you realize the miracle that is your existence, when you understand the almost impossible odds of you being here, thinking, feeling, breathing in the air around you, you begin to see the value of today. Because it's not an obligation, it's a currency, the most precious of commodities. Today is your time to step into that new version of yourself, to see something more so that you can begin the process of creating something more. Because the truth is, life will always be what you decide it is. If you walk up to your window, look through the blinds, and decide what you see is the finale, the final script, that's exactly what it will be. But if you see right now as a beautiful beginning, the initiation of the ride of a lifetime, a transport to the next version of you and the next and the next, then you are signing up for a world without limits. A world where you can feel what it's like to be tested and endure, to be lost but find your way, to build something meaningful out of the seemingly meaningless. That's why you're here. That's what it means to truly live. Today is your day, your chance. Don't let it slip away from you. Don't be fooled into thinking it's less than it really is. It is your ticket to infinity. A journey that starts when you decide it does. When you look out at that vast unknown and say, I'm not going to settle for anything less than a life of adventure. I want the challenges, the turbulence, the losses, and the battles. They will bring me to a place I could never have arrived at otherwise. You get from life what you give. So give it all. Leave no path unwalked, no stone unturned. Today is the most important day of your life because it will connect the you of yesterday to the limitless you of every day that comes next. It may be that our greatest gift in life is that we're always one decision away from transformation. We're always one decision away from a new path, with new experiences, new beliefs, new identity, one decision away from a totally different life. It's almost incomprehensible that all the days leading up to now, everything we knew ourselves to be can be discarded and left with one swing of an axe, gone. What is more miraculous than that? We live at the intersection of two imaginary worlds, right? The past and the future. The past is gone and essentially meaningless. Yet as the provider of our identity, it still rules over us. Our sense of who we are comes from our collection of past memories. That imaginary world of yesterday, like the elephant tied to the chair with a rope. It hasn't realized it's strong enough to break free. It doesn't know that what confines him is not the rope, but acceptance of a lie. And that's what the past, that's what identity is, a lie. We are not yesterday, we are right now. And from the trivial things to the significant things, we get wrapped up in that lie. We overlook the gift of control we have over our future. What does it mean to say, I'm not a morning person? That in your past you hadn't conditioned yourself to wake up early? Okay. What does it mean to say, oh, I let people walk all over me? That in your past you didn't stand up for yourself? What does it mean to say I'm awkward or shy or I struggle with writing or running or public speaking? So maybe you did. But what does that have to do with right now? What does that have to do with realizing the control you have over your life? Because simply realizing you can disconnect from these narratives, that they are not you, is the superpower. Realizing that calling yourself a bad student because you failed a test is like never taking off your raincoat because it rained yesterday. It's like, no, the sun is out, adapt. And once you realize right now is the beginning of the rest of your life, you can start making little changes. Identify not who you were, but who you'd love to be, and move towards it. Read The Power of Habit and Atomic Habits so that you can understand change isn't crazy or big or scary. It's moving little things in your life around so that they work for you, not against you. Start waking up and thinking about not what has happened, but what can happen, not what can go wrong, but what can go right. You are always one decision away from a totally different life because you're always one decision away from change, from walking away from the narratives that you have accepted. And so remember that. But remember it not just when things are fine. Remember it when you're struggling, when you feel restless or uneasy, unsure, uninspired, sad, angry, not content with the reflection in the mirror. When you feel that negativity, you're not looking at what can be, you're looking at what you have been. And there's no room at the table for that distraction. Not when you can reach out and start building something new. Not when you can put on a new pair of shoes and walk down a different path. You are always one decision away from a totally different life. And that decision should be first and foremost to choose future over past. Your next step over the last one. Choose your ideal world and start building.
Well, good morning to you. I hope you enjoyed that. I always enjoy Eddie's videos. They're amazing. So where is everyone coming from? Where in the world are you? We've got an exciting journey to go on today. And I always enjoy this, the Investor Roadmap Workshop. So let's get right into it. I'd love to see, type in the chat box, where are you coming from? Where in the world are you coming from? So let's share my screen here quickly with you. Right, this is the journey that we're going on today. So my business partner, Shane, literally took everything out of my head. And he said, well, Scott, if you want to become an investor and you want to earn globally diversified passive income, what do you got to do? And we literally went through the 9 steps and he built the process. So for me, we're going on this journey today, and Shane very eloquently summarized it for you. So you literally, so we've got Vicksburg, we've got Cape Town, Ashington, South Africa, Spain. Excellent. So let's go on this journey. Before we get started, I recommend that you scan this QR code. So it's a WhatsApp group. It's very useful to be part of the WhatsApp group because this is where we share the different details and the different contents, etc. So you got access to, information. Okay, so we're in hard times at the moment. And, when you look at it, inflation is up. Supposedly interest rates are coming down. World economy has been tough. So what do you do in these hard times? What do you do as an investor? How do you participate? And I can see that Shane's put the link into the chat group. So the question that I have for everyone is, and I always like to start with a question because it gets you in the room. What would it mean to you in 12 months or less to be earning a passive income without any hassle or complexity? So just type in the chat box there. What would it mean to you in 12 months or less to be earning passive income without any hassle or complexity? I've got stress-free. What else? Freedom so that I can do what I want. Satisfying. Freedom. Satisfying. Clarity upon direction. Investing. Nice. Here's a second question. How would you like a system which can statistically help you get there 70% faster, simpler, and safer? So we're going to talk a lot about this today. But, I've learned over the years, and I've been doing this for 28 years now. You can try and figure out and try and do it all yourself, or you can literally copy other people, and or you can partner with other people. So there's no such thing as a get-rich-quick scheme. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. But what I am going to share with you is what I've learned over 28 years so that you can get there simpler, safer, and faster. So what are we going to do today? Well, it's all about living a life unlimited. So it's the freedom of choice. And how do we do that? Well, I believe it's through smart investing. If you take this phone here, it's a smartphone. You've got a smart laptop, a smart TV, a smart fridge. Why don't a smart watch? Why don't you literally use smart investing? So it's the marriage together of investing and technology. This is the journey that we're going to go on today. So we're going to start with the fundamentals. You've always got to build the base. then it's about the setup, and finally it's about the investing. You're going to start with literally the 6 needs of an investor, and you're going to end with kind of earning and basically having globally diversified passive income. So Shane very kindly has put some resources together for you. So go to this link, investorroadmapworkshop.com/resources, and you'll see that there's going to be a bunch of resources in there. So today we're all about adding value. So there's a whole bunch of resources and value that we want to add for you. And Shane, if you can just chuck in the chat box, I'd appreciate it. There it is. And if you literally go to the resources guide, you'll notice here that you've got access to all of our resources. So I'm just opening it up for you quickly. And there you can literally go along and you can get access to all the different resources. So I would highly recommend that you click on that and you've got it. So do that now, please, so that you've got it. And while we're doing it, I want to tell you about our challenge. So today is a 4-hour workshop, and it's very much about investing. So it's literally to take you from where you are to actually investing and earning a passive income. But our diversification challenge is the most intense program that we run. It's a 5-day challenge. It's 2 hours a day. And what we basically do is the mission is to turn money into globally diversified passive income. On day 1, we start off with why diversification, understanding diversification. On day 2, it's the types of investments, the asset classes and the risks. What do you invest in? On day 3, it's about building a diversified passive income. It's about asset allocation. It's the how. On day 4, it's about risk management, the who. And on day 5, it's about putting it all into practice, the when. So if you're interested in that, literally go along to the link, Diversification Challenge, and you can see when our next challenge is actually organized for. And what I would recommend, you can arrive at the challenge for free, but what I'd recommend is that you join the VIP experience. And if you're part of the VIP experience, why this is important is that I've learned from some of the best in the world. And what they do is they run an event and then they have a private room afterwards. And that's what our VIP experience is. So the free part is about 2 hours a day. And then the VIP room is an extra hour every day where you literally get to talk to me in a small group in a Zoom room. You get to ask any questions you want. You get to clarify anything you want. You get to remove any blockages you want. You know, I charge $1,000 an hour from a coaching perspective. So it's over 5 hours worth of your time. And the best part is you literally get that live feedback. So what we found is that the people that do VIP are the people that get results because they really care. And, you know, there's a saying I love, when people pay, they pay attention. So what we found is that the VIP people are the ones who really get the results. Secondly, you get all the replays. So again, if you're learning something, it's very valuable to learn it over and over again. So you get access to all the trainings, the learnings, etc., forever. And, you know, we tend to joke, but as long as the internet lasts, you will have access to it. So yeah, that's something to consider. And then the Navigator is a tool that my partner Alex and Shane have built. And this is for people to make life easy. So, you know, like, what do you want to do next? What should you do? If you're not sure, literally go to the Navigator and it'll help you in terms of the next steps. So I can see Shane's put the link in there. You can click on it and it'll help you with regards to the next steps. So you ready to rock and roll? Who's excited? Come on. Tell me in the chat box. Are you excited? You want to get going? Because I want to take you on a journey today. Excellent, Craig. So I want to start with a story. And the story is of Kilimanjaro. So back in 2001, myself and a group of friends decided we wanted to climb Kilimanjaro, the highest mountain in Africa. And you can see that it was October 2001, and this was the 5 of us setting off with excitement to climb the tallest mountain in Africa. This was us on day 3. You can see it's starting to get a bit cold. And, you know, there's a lot less landscape up by the time you get to day 3. This is us on the morning of day 4. And now it's getting properly cold and we're up in the snow, etc. Now, to put this in perspective, not only have we just had September the 11th, literally a month before, so it was a pretty frightening time in the world, but people also die when they climb Kilimanjaro. And so, you know, there's excitement, there's intrepidation, there's a bit of fear in terms of this overall process. This was us on day 4. And you can see now, you can see the circumference of the world, like we're literally up above the clouds. It was quite surreal in terms of that overall process. This was lunch on day 4, and it's probably the last time we were all smiling. And this is Chifu. So Chifu was our guide, and it was really interesting because in life you can kind of try and figure it all out yourself, or you can have a guide. And Chifu had done this hundreds of times, if not thousands of times. And what was interesting when you climb Kilimanjaro is you go up and then you go down, and you go up and you go down. And the whole point of going up and down is to acclimatize. And again, I think it's a great metaphor for life because we could do anything. Like we could we can take on any challenge we want in life, or we can have a Chifu, someone who's done it many, many times and can make the journey a lot easier in terms of the process. So that afternoon, my friend Adrian got really, really sick with altitude sickness. And this is a video of us walking, and you can see how slowly we're walking now that we're up with, there's limited oxygen up there.
Talk to the camera, boys. 100 meters from base camp. How do we all feel?
So I don't know if you can see how slowly that we were walking there, but it was pretty tough going. And then that night we slept at base camp, and you're literally going to leave the next morning, and you're going to go up this hill here, and then around the side of this mountain, and then all the way up here. And when we slept at night, it was freezing cold, so our water bottles actually froze. And you're quite scared, I'm not going to lie, like you hardly sleep. And you set off at about 1 a.m. in the morning. And we were hiking up this mountain. And just as the sun was rising, it was this most beautiful sunrise. And my friend Adrian, the one that had the altitude sickness, actually fell over. And he literally rolled down the hill. And it was, we were like, well, what the hell's going on? And Chifu came to us and he said, listen, Scott, your friend can't continue. If he does, he'll die. I was like, okay, well, that's not a good thing because we kind of stick together and our aim is to get to the top of the mountain. We're very clear that we want to get to the top of the mountain, but we also don't leave a friend behind. And he said, well, don't worry about it. I thought about this problem. I've prepared for this problem. So I brought an extra Sherpa with me, and your friend can go down the hill. And admittedly, he'll be humiliated, but the point is he'll be safe. And so we proceeded to continue. And this was up at the top with the glaciers. And again, look at this video of how slowly we're walking.
The speed we managed most of the time. The beautiful glaciers in the background. We're about 50 odd meters from the top. Like these boys are actually flying.
You can see we were pretty tired. But when you've got a goal in life and when you're clear, like you can spend your whole life walking around a mountain. But if you're clear on where the top of the mountain is, then you should get there. And I always joke with people, whenever Australia beats us at rugby or cricket, then we send my friend Adrian this message. We were clear. We wanted to get to the top of the mountain, and that was the top of Kilimanjaro. So why is this important and what relevance does this have today? Well, in my opinion, wealth and globally diversified passive income is exactly the same. And there's many, many parallels between that story and the journey of globally diversified passive income. You can do it all on your own. You can be walking around the base of the mountain on an ongoing basis, or you can get very clear on what the top of the mountain is and make sure that you're focusing on it. You can get yourself a Chifu and someone who's done it hundreds, if not thousands of times, and literally help you on the journey and make it a hell of a lot easier. By having a Chifu, they can also foresee problems, because in life, problems are going to happen. It's guaranteed. They can foresee those problems and they can help navigate around them. And so this is why we call it the investor roadmap, because we believe it's a journey. And I want to welcome you on this journey. Like we're going on a journey for the next couple of hours together. And hopefully you'll let me be your Chifu in terms of helping you achieve it. So who here wants to go on this journey? You've invested your time, you're here. The bottom line is, who here wants to get to globally diversified passive income? And Craig, thank you for the participation. So what we're basically going to do is we're going to be running through the fundamentals, which is all about the why. Then we're going to go to the what, and finally we're going to go to the how. So in life, it's always about the why, the what, and the how. I will share with you at the end what we call an action bundle. So I believe it's absolutely pointless in life to get the knowledge and to not take action. And so I'm going to share with you at the end an action bundle where literally you can take all of this theory and you can turn it into action. And what you're going to get access to is the VIP room in terms of the challenge. You're going to get our WealthE Starter Pack Lite, and you're also going to get our Investor Priority Service. So we're not here to do presentations. That's not our job. Our job is to help people get results. And we've created this as an action bundle for people to get results in terms of that process. And again, to remind you, if you want to go deeper, then the VIP room is, something that is very, very valuable when you do the challenge, and you get to basically deal with me on a one-to-one basis. And the Starter Pack Lite, well, we're going to go through that later. I'll explain it to you, but we basically created a no-brainer. So what happened in the past was I used to stand on stage and hand out vouchers of $100. And I've done it to thousands and thousands of people. And what percentage of people do you think took the voucher and actually implemented it? Just type in the chat box there. I'd love to know. 5%? 3%? 4%? 1%? Yeah. So it absolutely fascinated me. Like I literally gave you $100 and all you had to do was go on the platform and use that $100. And it was less than 1% of people who actually did it. And so the action bundle and what we've done here with the Starter Pack Lite is reverse engineer that. Like rather than deal with 100 people that aren't interested, like we give them something that they're not interested in. They think they're interested, but they're not interested because they're not prepared to take the action. We reverse engineer that, and we only want to work with people that are action takers because we want to get results. It's that simple. And what's interesting is that everyone wants results. Like your results are sitting here, but it's all the stuff below the iceberg: the emotions, the values, the thinking, the assumption, the bias, the judgments, the defenses, etc. And what you'll find is that there's two states. You've got an away state, which is where you're withdrawn, fearful, inability to make good choices, demotivated. And the question is, how do you get in a toward state where you're happy, ability to think clearly, creative, see new opportunities, etc. And my belief is there's only two ways to get into a toward state. One is you get in a group of like-minded people. And two is you get very clear on your outcome. So most people are kind of caught up in this problem and drama. About 95% of people are caught up in this problem and drama. And it's not about this. It's about getting clear on your outcome. It's about top-down, high-quality thinking. It's about asking better questions. And once you got clear on your outcome, then you can worry about brainstorming and action. So I just want to make you aware of this. And equally, there's a study by Harvard that 3 months from now, so you attend today, well done, you're here, but 3 months from now, statistically, you won't even remember 10% of what you're learning today. Whereas if you actually do it, if you actually take action, you're going to remember and retain about 95%. And that's why you'll notice today, everything for us is about action. I'm not interested in just regurgitating knowledge to you. That's easy. You can literally, there's so much stuff on the internet and ChatGPT and everything in between. But the question I want is to help you get results. And I consciously want you to be aware of the journey that we're going to go on. So, a lot of people, and again, I don't care if you're a beginner or highly sophisticated. There's this journey of unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence to conscious competence to unconscious competence. And in simple terms, many people don't even know what they don't know. So you might be highly sophisticated investing in one country, but you don't even know what you don't know. And the purpose today is I'm going to take you on this journey. I'm going to teach you what I've learned over 28 years of globally investing in global diversification. And between Shane and myself and Alex, we're going to literally show you what you need to know. We're going to give you ways to take action. And then we're going to hold your hand if you want it. Is that fair? Yes? No? Type in the chat box. So I want to go with a story And another story. And I had the privilege of going to Necker Island with Richard Branson. So that's his private island in the Caribbean. I've been there twice for 2 weeks. And one of my dreams was to meet Richard Branson. Like, he's a bit of an idol of mine, and I really wanted to meet him and go and spend time with him. And when we were there, there was only one homework task, and that was that we had to arrive with what's called a life hack. So what is a hack? It's a way to make life easier. There were 25 of us, Richard Branson included, and the most incredible people in the room. I was the dumbest, poorest person by a long way. And what I loved when we did this life hack was that there were 25 people explaining something that they did in their life that dramatically improved their life and made life easier. And so you got like 25 of these incredible insights. And when I explained this, to my business partner, Shane, he said, well, what we are is actually wealth hackers. Because if you think about it, I've spent my whole life trying to get around and be around and to invest and to partner with wealthy people because I want to get there as fast as I can. So I'm hacking my way to wealth. And at the end of the day, when Shane said it, he was like, well, we're actually all wealth hackers. And so I really, really love it. And with your permission, I actually want to take off my jacket because today is not some big fancy financial, presentation. It's someone who's been on this journey for a long time, 28 years to be exact. And I want to share with you my experiences. I want to share with you my knowledge so that you too can hack your way to wealth. Is that fair? Is that something you want to do? Because, for me, you can try and figure it all out yourself, like I tried to do for 14 years, or you can literally partner with others and you can hack your way there. Now, I will share at the end about our mastermind, where you can work exclusively with myself and our family office partner. And the mastermind's been built for people like Jordan. So, Jordan is a high net worth 55-year-old. He's worked very hard all his life. He wants to build a portfolio to ensure that his wealth is preserved. He wants to build globally diversified passive income of at least $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, or $25,000 a month, simply and safely. He wants to diversify his investments between countries, currencies, and assets. He wants to use his limited time to get effective results with predictability. He wants to save decades of frustration and millions of dollars to get the right knowledge for him and his family. He wants wealth protection, a plan B, and peace of mind. He wants to be held accountable with an accountability partner to get results. He wants to have a family office to help him manage all his financial affairs. He wants to create generational wealth for his family. He wants to have a fully executed wealth plan and investor strategy sheet, and he wants to get results. Now, tell me, if you resonate with Jordan, just type in there, Jordan. Just type in the chat box, Jordan. What about Victoria? She's an entrepreneur in her 50s. She's devoted to her family and business, aiming to build generational wealth. Victoria has a very packed schedule, so she wants a streamlined investment strategy that empowers her to make wise decisions, aligns with her goals, and frees up her time for her grandchildren and daughters. She wants to understand the investment landscape, so she feels empowered to make the right decisions for herself and her family. She's tired of being told what to do and not trusting financial advisors. She wants to have the information so that she understands it and can make the right decisions. She wants to focus on financial freedom so she can cherish more moments with her loved ones. And again, who resonates with Victoria? Or maybe both. You can type in there both if you resonate with both of them. So if you resonate with these people, like we've literally built the mastermind to provide solutions for both Jordan and Victoria. And before I get going in terms of the substance, I just want to say as a disclaimer, I'm going to share a lot of my knowledge today. I'm going to share my lessons. I'm going to share my mistakes. But what I'm not giving is financial advice. And I feel very strongly about this. The 21st century is all about empowering yourself. So, we all need to be accountable for the decisions we make. And my job is to share with you the lessons, the knowledge, the belief, and everything in between. And your job is to, take that on board, but ultimately to make the right decisions for yourself. So that's my request / my agreement in terms of proceeding. So I'm sure many of you have read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And, you know, he talks a lot in this book about the E, the S, the B, and the I. And what is that all about? Well, you basically got the employee, the self-employed, the business owner, and the investor. If you take each one of these, the employee is about hard work, no security, no time. It's all about active income. Like, you only get paid when you're actually working. And that's why it's kind of sitting on a hamster wheel. Then you got the self-employed. You know, they are large debts, insufficient funds, stress. And 95% of people on the planet are in this active income space. And yet they only own 5% of the world's wealth. On the other side of the fence, you've got the business owner. And this is about passive income. And it's about easy work, stability, spare time. And then you've got the investor. And this is where it's no debts, plenty of money, and freedom. And this is where less than 5% of people on the planet are in this space, and yet they own 95% of the wealth. And so the question, and I don't care if you're a rank beginner or highly sophisticated, the question is, how do you become an investor that is earning globally diversified passive income? And that's our objective today. And again, I want to share with you a story. So I don't know if you're like me, but what I did was for 14 years, I went out and tried to get all the information myself. So you name the book, and I've read it. I've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books. I literally went out and I read every book that I could, whether it was on property or business or investing. I did all the courses. I have 2 degrees. I have an honors degree cum laude. I have a master's degree cum laude. I did CRS, Certified Residential Specialist, which is the top property course out of America. I did ARPP out of England, which is the Association of International Property Professionals. I did PDP, which is the top one out of South Africa, and the business school, basically. It's the top property course in the country. And my point is, for 14 years, I always thought, right, I don't know enough yet. I must go and learn more. And there's a great little picture here where I read the book, Real Estate Riches by Dolph DeRuis. So this book here, and I don't know if you have or haven't read it. And in simple terms, you know, in this book, he said, you know, you need to look at 100 houses, you need to make an offer on 10, you need to be accepted for 3, and you need to buy 1. Well, you know, my philosophy has always been to go and learn from the source. So I paid $8,000 and I flew to America. And this was us in Phoenix on the steps of the courthouse when, you know, the American housing crisis was happening. And we were literally buying houses on the steps of the courthouse. So this was us on our buyer's trip. But what I realized, and myth number 1, was that I didn't need to do it all myself. So for 14 years, I tried to do it all myself. I tried to go on all the courses, do all the degrees, buy the properties myself. I bought, you know, 16 different properties that I own myself, residential properties. And my logic was, you know, if I do all of this, because according to, you know, Real Estate Riches and Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you know, all I got to do is buy a bunch of houses and then I'll be free. And the truth was, I bought all the houses and I wasn't free. In fact, like, I call it mom and pop investing. I just had more hassle and more complexity in my life. And that's when I had a fundamental shift where I realized, you know, I don't have to do it all myself. I went to an event in America with Tony Robbins, and Tony Robbins taught me about the principle of modeling and mastery and partnership. And through that, I completely fundamentally shifted from I need to do everything myself to I can actually partner with others. And by partnering with others, I could do it a lot more simply and safer, and I could go a lot faster. And so for the last literally 20 years, we've been trying to make investing in property simple and safe. And I love this saying by Leonardo da Vinci, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. So I'm going to share with you just now how you can literally invest around the world online in under 30 seconds. And it might look too good to be true. But for 28 years, all that we, myself and the team, are focused on is how to make it simple and safe, simple and safe, simple and safe. And so, without further ado, let's rock and roll into the 9 steps. I think you've probably got enough understanding and context of to what we're doing and why we are doing it. So, we're going to go into the why now. So let's start off with the 6 things investors need. So I learned this lesson. I actually had a marketing team and they were pretty well paid. And I remember sitting around the boardroom table with them and they turned to me and they were like, oh, you know, Scott, this is all really good, but you know, you had money to start off with. And I remember sitting there and thinking, geez, we've got a serious problem. My own marketing team doesn't believe it's possible for them. And we'd built Migrate, so we already had the platform. We already had the ability to invest. But what I realized was that if you don't have the belief, then nothing is possible. And so the first thing that an investor needs is belief. I think, therefore I am. And so, you know, whether you believe it's possible or you believe it's not possible, you're right, according to Henry Ford. And ultimately, everything starts with belief. The second thing is knowledge. So you need to get the right knowledge. And that's why we built the WealthE University. It's why we do programs like the one we're doing today. Because people need the knowledge. Like, I'm not saying you should go out and gamble and you know, invest without knowing what you're doing. But you also need to be very careful of myth number 2. And myth number 2 is that you need to pay to go on another course or, you know, join some other group or get another degree, because only then will you be ready. So myth number 2, I fundamentally believe that there's not one single person that's on this workshop that learned to walk by reading a book. So let me repeat that. There's not one single person that's on this workshop that learned to walk by reading a book or going on a course. Like, at the end of the day, you got to stand up, you got to fall down. You got to stand up, you got to fall down. It's just the way the world works. So you need the knowledge, but it's learning while doing versus, you know, one day I'll know it all and then I'll get started. It's rubbish. Okay. Your third need is access and investment. So one of the things I fundamentally believed in for many, many years is, what's the point of presenting all the knowledge without people actually having a solution to be able to participate? So you've got to have access to the investment opportunities. And then you need a system. Like, all of us need a system. So what I've learned from some of the wealthiest people in the world, they all have a system. In fact, they even say making money is boring because they just follow the system over and over and over again. You then need support and accountability. So, you know, a lot of people, when it comes to investing, think of investing in isolation, but it's not about isolation. It's actually about collaboration and partnership and support, and accountability is how you get results. And then finally, it comes to results. And it's interesting because for different people, it's different things, but it's success, it's results, it's wealth. I tend to put it down to freedom. It's freedom of choice. Where do you want to live? Where do you want your children to go to school? Where do you want your children to go to university? Who do you work for? Where do you go on holiday? Who do you donate your money to? That's the freedom that I believe is utterly important. So these are the 6 needs. I've helped people in 178 countries invest over $1.3 billion. And in my opinion, these are the 6 needs that I've seen for investors across the world. And what's interesting is that they could be complete beginners or they could be highly sophisticated. These are the 6 needs that investors need. And so do me a favor, and people think to me, they say, well, you know, is it just the 6 needs? And the reason is no, it's circular. So what's interesting, and I learned this from Tony Robbins originally, if you take action and, you know, you get the knowledge and you start to invest and you start to get results, it's an upward spiral to success. But if you have belief that it's not possible, it's a downward spiral, because you're going to take, if you have no belief, you're going to take no action, you're going to get no results, you're going to reinforce the pattern, and it's a downward spiral. And so the choice you've got is, it all starts in the brain. It all starts in your mind. And firstly, whether you believe. And so I've got a question for you. And that is, if you take the 6 beliefs, do they make sense to you? Yes or no? Can you see how they can have an impact to you as an investor when you know what you need, you know what you want, you know what you have to do? Cool. Let's move on to number 2. And this is all about the wealth plan. So again, I remind you of the resources. Shane has shared the resources with you. And if you literally go in to the resources, you'll see here that you've got a wealth plan certificate, you've got a completed wealth plan certificate, and you've got the freedom calculator. So if I literally open this up, and Shane has very kindly given you all of this literally for free. So you can go in here and you can literally open up all the resources. What's taking so long? So there's your wealth plan certificate. And if I go to this one here, this is one that it's my wealth plan. So you can actually see, I like to copy from other people, just kind of the way I like to operate. Why has that not got the writing on it, Shane? And then you've got the freedom calculator. So this is a calculator that we built. So I can see Shane's put them all in there basically. So you just make a copy of the document. We're literally giving you all these tools so that you can do it for yourself. And I'm going to teach you how to use it. Pretty cool, huh? So those are all the resources. There's 4 steps. So Shane sent me a challenge about 2 years ago. And he said, Scott, within 60 minutes, would you be able to help someone finalize their wealth plan and to move from the employee or self-employed quadrant to the freedom of the investor quadrant as quickly, simply, and safely and predictably as possible, without being trapped by the financial industry, scammed, giving away your power to someone else, or adding additional stress or hassle to your life? That's the challenge he sent me. And so we sat down and we were like, right, how do we take all the knowledge and how do we make it simple for people so that they can execute in less than 60 minutes? And, you know, I'm a big believer that when you ask yourself a great question, you're going to get great answers. If you ask yourself stupid questions, you're going to get stupid answers. And so this was the challenge that we set ourselves. And why I wanted to share this with you is that I love the talk by Simon Sinek. I don't know if you've seen it, highly recommend it. But most people out there are trying to focus on the how and the what. How do I make money? What have I got to do? But what's very important is if you get started with your why. Why is it important to you? And so if you want to understand the why of most investors in terms of my experience from a diversification perspective, the first one is that they want to preserve their wealth. They've worked really, really hard and they want to look after their money. Secondly, they want a plan B. They don't want all their eggs in one basket. They don't want to be tied up in one country, one currency, one asset class. Thirdly, they want peace of mind. You know, no what happens in the global economy, they want to have the peace of mind to know that they have, you know, ulteriors and income and everything to continue. And ultimately, I believe it comes down to freedom. So they want to have the freedom of choice in terms of it. So if you look at the wealth plan, it starts off with the why. You can literally see what are your top 5 reasons as to why you do what you do, because it's that why which is going to drive you to get results. Now, if you want to understand my why, this was me and my dad on my first construction project when I was 13 years old. We were renovating our house and we were putting on a double bedroom bathroom. And at a very young age, I loved property. And I sort of watched my dad, because my dad did what we were all taught to do. He went to school, he went to university, he worked really hard, he got a great degree, he became financial director of a listed company, he invested, he paid his taxes, and, you know, hypothetically, he did what we were all taught to do, and he should retire happy and rich. But he didn't. At the age of 59, my dad died broke. And I was quite confused by that, because it was like, well, hang on, that doesn't make sense to me. He's done what we all been taught to do. So I went and did the research, and I found a guy called Dr. Hannes Dreyer, who literally said, and has done the research on this, that 94% of people in the Western world, so that's England, Australia, and America, 94% of people at the age of 65 will be dead, broke, or reliant on the government. 94% of people. 5% of people will be financially independent. And so people are like, woohoo, I want to be financially independent. But actually, according to the financial industry, you earn 25% less than your last paycheck. In my world, you're just 25% poorer. In fact, you're financially trapped, which means that only 1% of people are retiring wealthy at the age of 65. 100 of us are starting a race, and only one of us is finishing the race. Forget about who wins the race. Only one of us is finishing the race. And I decided at a very young age, the system is broken. You know, I loved technology. I was programming on a Commodore 64 in 1983 with Logo. I've loved Monopoly, and I've always wanted to marry together technology and property. I come from a country where there's a big stark difference between the haves and the have-nots. And what's fascinating is that when you look at the richest 1%, their wealth just continues to increase year on year. And the question I always have for people, why? What did they have? What do the top 1% have that you and I don't have? Craig says access to information. What else? I'm 100% purposely engaging your brain. So, like, what do you think they have that you don't have? Why is their wealth increasing faster than the rest of the planet? Incredible advice, assets, opportunities. They have a plan, network, access to platforms we don't have, the right contacts, the right knowledge and experience, a plan and advice. So you're all right, a family office. But I think Mike's the closest in terms of advice, to put it down to one thing. They have access to assets, better assets. Their assets are increasing in value faster than everyone else. And so our philosophy was, you know, no matter where you live in the world, because it has a big impact on your wealth as to where you live. And whether you're a female or a male, you know, because there's a stark difference between those two. And also depending on when you were born, you know, the millennials and everything else have had it a lot tougher than other generations. In fact, recently there was a report out in America where your children are always better off than you are, statistically. And for the first time ever in the history of America, the children are worse off than the parents were. It's getting worse, not better. And so what's interesting is that, you know, we went and did the research, and 49% of the world's wealth is held in property. And yet only 12.9% of the world's population has access to property. And what's interesting is that that's residential property. Like, that's mom and pop investing. If you take that 12.9%, only 1% has access to commercial property and or other alternative assets. And that's the imbalance. That's the problem. That's what's broken. And so we literally went, well, we need to change that. Let's use technology to empower everybody to invest like the top 1%. And we've built the business based on Zig Ziglar's principle. You can have anything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. So I'll say that again. You can have anything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. So I want globally diversified passive income. I'm very clear on it. If I can help enough other people get that, then I can have anything I want. So it's a symbiotic process. And our dream is to make investing as simple as a swipe of a finger and ultimately get it down to $1. And I always say to someone, you know, $1 is not going to change your life. But if I can change your habits, I can change your life. And what's fascinating, I mean, we're down to $10 now. So we're very close to our goals and our aspirations. So hopefully this gives you a context of why we do what we do. Because it's always really important to understand someone's why, to understand their core and what is happening behind the scenes. So what we're going to do now is help you create your wealth plan. And I'm going to give you literally the tools. So there's 4 steps. The first one is the goal. So figure out what you want in cash flow. So if you go back here to this plan here, and you literally say, right, what am I wanting to achieve? So I don't know, I want $5,000 a month. Now, just by the way, no matter where you are in the world, You can use the different currencies. So the calculator is built. You can use any currency you like. My recommendation is that if you want to think like a global citizen, the reserve currency of the world is the dollar. So it probably makes sense to do it in dollars. But if you're in England and you want to change this to pounds or euros or rands or any other currency, and it automatically links through the internet. So the exchange rates are updated, they're real time. Okay. So the first thing you need to know, and it's amazing because most people don't even know this, what is the passive income you need to be free? And so you basically you get clear on that number. So I'm just going to work on 5,000 for now. The next thing is the formula. Then you must figure out how much capital you need based on an average cash on cash. So again, if you go back here, so you can see if it's 5,000, it automatically populates. Now, this is the cash on cash return. This is the income return. So if you've got a certain amount of capital and it's paying you income every month or every quarter, what's the return? Now, if you don't know the number, I would recommend you use 8% because 8% is a healthy number. It's not too aggressive. It's not too high. It's not too low. So I can see Mike there. You know your number, which is fantastic. So what's interesting is that you put in the 8% there. The next thing is you play around with the formula. So then you need to figure out how much you need to invest per month and for how long to achieve the goal. So if you go back to this, and this is the beauty of this Google sheet is you can't break it. So say, for example, you got some starting capital. I don't know, you've got a property and you've got 50,000 in that property. Okay, and you want to invest, I don't know, 200 a month. Okay, and $200 a month. And you want to increase that. So every year you want to sort of increase the amount of money. And if you look here, you've got 7 years. But you can see the calculator is nice because it's in red. It's not going to work. So you're like, well, that's not going to work. Okay, what about 20 years? Oh, okay, I'm free in 20 years. Let's see if I'm 15. No, 15 doesn't work. 16, 17, 18, 19. Oh, I'm free. It's 19 years. So this calculator is not perfect. And I want to be clear. It's probably 90 to 95% accurate. And people go, well, what about the other 5%? And I go, well, in life, nothing is perfect because it's the future. No one can predict the future 100%. So what this is it's a guide for you. And, there's plenty of people out there that, as an example, I'm not going to mention the gentleman's name, where you go on an entire course for an entire day just to learn how to use his calculator. And my philosophy is keep it simple. So you can literally see here that you can play around with this and you can come up with your numbers. And what's interesting is that, if you take the current year, it's 2024. And, my age at the moment, I'm 47. So basically that means that I will be free in 2043 and I'll be 66 years old. So if you go back to this, step 4 is stick to the formula, measure, track, and keep going. So if you go back to your wealth plan, you literally, that's not what I wanted. That's my son's homework. Where's he gone now? So, basically what you do is you put in your why, and then you put in your how. So what is the income that you want and the cash on cash, and then your what. What have you actually got to do per month to make that a reality? And this becomes your commitment to yourself. So this whole little process, you can do this in 20 odd minutes. And what I think is really important is you can do it yourself or, Shane very kindly built us a online system. So, myth number 3 is that there's some massively fantastic asset out there. I don't know, I'm going to buy the next Google and I'm going to retire, or I'm going to buy Bitcoin and I'm going to retire. And the truth is that it's the consistency which counts. And so in terms of building your wealth plan, you can do it yourself. I mean, Shane has literally given you the resources. or you can go along and you can literally use Wealth Going Global. So Wealth Going Global, I wrote this book in 2013. It was endorsed by Clem Santa, Property Going Global. And what was interesting is that Shane came to me 10 years later and he was like, Scott, it's time for an upgrade. And so we built the Wealth Going Global, which is a digital course. It's 6 modules. And if you look here, I'm just logging in quickly. Come on. So if you go to Wealth Going Global and you go through the 6 modules, it literally helps you build your wealth plan. So, sorry, my computer's nice and slow today. So if you go through, you basically got, the introduction, so getting clear on your why. Then you've got the top 5 countries to invest in, the top 5 currencies, the top 15 assets. How do you find the right partners and how do you build a wealth plan? And what this does, which I love, is it automatically does it for you. So if you populate it through the home study course, it'll actually help you build your own wealth plan. So you can literally see your own personalized wealth plan is built out based on your own needs and wants. So yeah, Shane's given it to you. You can literally do it yourself, or you can use Wealth Going Global and go on the course in terms of that process. So Joe asked a question and she said, how do you work out your cash on cash? And what does that actually mean? So let me just go back to this here. So Joe, what you're referring to is this number here. Your cash on cash is the amount of money that you earn based on, so say for example, you invest $100. If you have an 8% cash on cash, it means that you are earning $8. So for every $100 you got, you're earning $8 net in your pocket income per year. And what I'd appreciate, Shane, if you could put up in the WhatsApp group. So for hopefully everyone's joined the WhatsApp group now. But in the WhatsApp group, if you could put the link to what is the difference between yield, cash on cash, and IRR, the video on that. And Joe, in simple terms, your cash on cash is ultimately the income that you're getting paid. And I believe that's your freedom in terms of that process. So, and if you don't know the number, a very good average number is 8%. You can get higher, you can get lower, but 8% is a good average number. So if you're wanting to do your wealth plan, you can literally do it on your own. We've given you the resources, and or you can go and do Wealth Going Global, and it'll literally help you digitally create it. Plus, you'll walk away with an investor strategy sheet. So what I like about this, it's a personalized investor strategy sheet where you can decide on what are the right countries to invest in, what are the right currencies, what are the right assets to invest in. And the way I like to describe it to people is that today, we're giving you the information literally for free. But if you want to go deeper and if you want to see the substance, then, you can literally go to Wealth Going Global in terms of that process. So my question to you as we conclude step 2 is, are you comfortable that A, you've been given the resources, like you can literally go and do it yourself, or if you want us to hold your hand and you want to do kind of Wealth Going Global, etc., there's a solution for you. Are you comfortable that there's literally, no matter what you want to do, there's a solution on the way forward? And Marina, I saw you said, I love the calculator. It's so empowering when you go through the calculator and you actually realize, like, wow, okay, this is what I can do. And just yesterday, Marina was asking me about a property she's got, and she was like, do I keep it? Do I buy it? Do I sell it? Do I whatever? And I was like, well, it depends on the numbers. And that's why these calculators and stuff become so valuable, because you take the emotion off the table and it helps you make better decisions. So Dylan, we're going to go through how to fund your wallet, etc. just now. Right, let's move on to step 3. And this is the investment categories and the opportunities. So again, I remind you of going to the resources where we'll go through the investment terminology, commercial real estate asset classes, and the real estate, value chain of real estate. And Marina, just to show you there, you asked a question, do you have calculators for property? And the answer is yes. So if you go here and we go to, I now need to decide where it's going to be. I think it might be under partners. Let me just check here. And you go to materials. So you can basically see here that we've got all the different stuff around partners. That's not it. Let me find. Boom, 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 boom. It must be under assets. Let's just see under assets. Boom, boom, boom. No, it's not there. Where is it? So I'm just looking for the calculators. So I've actually included the calculators. I've never included the calculators before, but we have. There the calculators are. So to answer your question, Marina, basically this is for residential property, South Africa, the UK, America, Australia, project return calculators. They're all here to help you make better decisions. So whether you want to invest in America, England, Europe, Australia, South Africa, it doesn't actually matter. You know, there's multiple different asset classes that are out there. And, you know, there's bank products, financial products, bonds, stocks, REITs, funds, real estate, residential, commercial, crypto, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know, in Wealth Going Global, we literally go into what are the top assets that everyone knows, what are the top 15 assets to invest in, and why. And what I want to do today is I want to share with you one of the greatest gifts I learned, which is the real estate value chain. Now, again, this might sound really simple, but it's really profound. So when it comes to investing, and I call it mom and pop investing, is that you and I are generally out there and we're wanting to invest in a property. And the problem is that there's 16 different middlemen between us and our investment. There's no trust, there's no transparency, and because of all the high fees, there is low returns. And it brings me on to myth number 4, which is where like people are like, oh, I want to diversify. I'm going to go and buy a house in Manchester. Or I'm going to go buy a house in London. And what's interesting is that that's the old way of doing it. That's the mom and pop way of doing it. So you literally like, oh, I'll go buy a house and I'll do it myself. Until you understand the value chain of real estate. So if you take real estate, there's 5 major steps. You've got land zoning, which is where a farm is a farm and it's called greenfield. And then they convert it and ultimately get planning to be able to build something on it. And then a developer comes along and they build a vertical structure. And then an investor owns that building. And then they tend to sell it to a fund or a REIT. And then you and I invest through the listed markets. So when you look at returns, the average returns that a land investor is looking for, because it's higher risk, is about 30% IRR, internal rate of return. So people say, oh, but I don't get 30%. Well, that's what they're targeting. What's a developer targeting? 25%. What's an investor targeting? 20%. A fund or a REIT, on the other hand, they're wanting to buy income. So they're wanting to buy predictable income. So if you think about it, if you've got a pension, what do you want with a pension? You want income. So they buy predictable income. And generally, it's an income of anywhere from 5 to 8%. Sometimes I'm being a bit aggressive. It might be, quite a bit less than that. And then you and I come along and we get kind of 2 to 6%. And we wonder why we battle to beat inflation. Does this make sense? If you want to know more about it, you can go to my LinkedIn profile. And I've literally got an article there from the financial newspaper where there was a group called Robosis and Billions. And Billion was the developer that built a whole bunch of shopping centers. And then they sold it to a fund called Robosis. And then all of us retail investors invested in Robosis through the stock market. And this whole article was how the property was so overvalued. And basically, you were buying rubbish. And the only person that made any money was the developer that sold the building from, to the fund. And the irony is, it was the same person. Now, just type in the chat box here if this is making sense. because this is a fundamentally important understanding for you. If you want to move away from being a mom and pop investor, which is, investing like the middle class and pretty much doing what you've been indoctrinated to do, books like Real Estate Riches teach you how to be a mom and pop investor versus becoming an institutional, with an institutional mindset. So let me explain what I mean here. If it's kind of common sense that, you're at the bottom of the feeding chain if you go through this process, and you basically want to cut out the middleman. So like you literally want to invest directly in a commercial industrial building in America or a German, building in Germany, and you cut out the middleman. Or you want to go and, literally partner with a developer and do a new development in Manhattan. I say to people, well, if it's logical to cut out the middleman, why are you not doing this? And when you look at the responses I've had from all over the world, is, how do I protect myself? It's too expensive. It's too complicated. I don't have the time. Ongoing management, compliance. I don't know how. There are too many scams. Access to deals. I don't have access. I don't have the knowledge. But, in simple terms, I believe it comes down to three myths. One is I don't have the time. Two is I don't have the knowledge. And three is I don't have the money. And I always love the analogy of Uber, because 15 years ago, when Uber didn't exist, the only people that had private drivers were the wealthiest people. Whereas now, anyone that has a smartphone has access to Uber. And so what has Uber done? Well, firstly, it's cut out the middleman, it's cut out the costs, and it's dramatically increased the trust, the transparency, and the accessibility. With a smartphone, we've all got access to Uber now in terms of that, to our own private driver. And so, this is a picture of a friend of mine that had left his phone in the car. And 5 minutes later, the Uber came and gave it back to him. And, if you think about it pre-Uber, you would arrive at an airport, you would phone a taxi, owners association that would phone a taxi driver. And about 2 hours later, they'd come and pick you up. And if you didn't know your way around, London or whatever, they'd take you the long way so that they could charge you extra fees. And it was just a highly unpleasant experience. And nowadays, you literally arrive at the airport, you go on Uber, it picks you up, it's cut out the middleman, it's cut out the costs, and it takes you there quickly, simply, and safely. And so, in the same way that technology did that to the taxi industry, our belief is that you can do that with regards to investing. And we call it income investing. So that's where you invest directly in assets and you earn an income. And we call it growth investing when you're investing in a development. So what do? Well, in simple terms, we use that analogy where we help people go up the value chain and invest directly in alternative assets. And there's different words for it. Some people call it fractionalization. Some people call it crowdfunding. But in simple terms, what we do is help people using technology invest in quality assets. So again, invest where the institutional and the sophisticated investors invest, not at the mom and pop level. What's important in terms of what's happening around the world is there's a massive swing towards alternative assets in terms of, the wealthiest people in the world are moving away from the listed market, the stock market, and actually moving more and more into alternative assets. And you can see this, the ultra high net worth, so that's people that have $30 million or more, have on average 50% of their portfolio in alternative assets. And a question I have for you, what percentage of your portfolio is in alternative assets? Because if you're like anyone else, you've probably got 70% in stocks and 30% in bonds, which is kind of a traditional weighting that financial advisors will give you. And yet the wealthiest people have the complete opposite. And then we say to ourselves, well, why are we getting different results? Well, we're not doing the right stuff. 87% of private investors are planning on maintaining or increasing their allocation to alternative investments. And when you look at what's happened over the years, there's this massive asset bull run. There's a lot of concerns around the stock market and what is happening in the stock market. People are looking for diversification. They're looking to invest in different assets with different returns so they're not tied together. They're wanting to try and outperform the market. They want risk-adjusted returns, which is where they want to try and make the risk as low as possible and get the best results. And you know what's interesting is that there was a report that came out by the regulator in America. And if you take the stock market for the last 25 years, so the S&P in blue, it's earned a return of about 8%. Private equity has earned a return of about 12%. And the irony is, if you look at risk, the stock market has had actually higher risk than private equity. So private equity has higher returns with less risk. And I know you've all been taught higher the risk, higher the return. It's rubbish. Look here, 25 years worth of results. And yet how many of you are investing in private equity? And if you take ourselves and you look at our performance over the last, since 2013, you know, our average cash on cash is around 8%, and our average IRR is around 14%. So we target a cash on cash of kind of between 7 and 11%, and an IRR of between 12 and 18%. So we've got members in over 170 countries. We've got investors in over 70 countries. We focus on the first world. So we focus on investing in America, Europe, Australia, and England. And I tend to say to people, if you want to do it on your own, there's many, many parts to it. You know, you need lawyers, you need brokers, you need banks, you need investor reporting, you need KYC and AML, you need deal tracking, you need family office, you need, you know, tax, compliance, banks. But if you use Migrate, there's 4 simple steps. You sign up for free, you set up your account, you browse and invest, and you earn an income. And so the question that you really should ask yourself is, the old way of doing it was that, as I've said to you already, there's 16 different middlemen between you and your investment. Or you can use technology, which literally cuts out all the middlemen, cuts out the costs, and allows you to invest directly with the partner in the building. Is this making sense? Does this get you excited? Because this really gets me excited. And hopefully, again, to understand, it's very similar to that analogy of Uber in terms of the process. So what do the top 1% do? And we spoke about this earlier. They're investing in better quality assets. And so it's all about looking for institutional quality. You know, I had a gentleman just yesterday telling me, oh, I got this house and we can do this deal and whatever. And I'm like, I'm not interested. That's mom and pop investing. I don't want to, you know, I know it sounds terrible, but I don't want to invest with the rats and mice. I don't want to invest where everyone else is. I want to invest at a higher level. I want to get out of the noise, and I want to invest where the institutions are investing and where the sophisticated investors are investing. Now, traditionally, none of us had access to that because you needed millions of dollars to be able to participate. But because of technology, you can now get access to those partners and access to those opportunities and invest, you know, at an institutional level. Technology has allowed us to reduce the minimums. You know, in the old days, you had to do it all yourself. It was manual, etc. So, you know, the minimum investment on deals would often be $250,000 to, you know, $250,000 to $1 million. And if you didn't have that amount of money, you know, they wouldn't even talk to you. And the beauty is with technology now is you've dramatically reduced the costs. So you can help a lot more people and people can come together. So you can reduce the minimums. So we can still invest and partner with institutional quality deals, but with lower minimums in terms of the process. And what becomes really important is that this is obviously in a regulated environment. And so as individual investors, we no longer dream about owning that commercial property. We can actually participate in that commercial property. And as Mike's saying, it sounds like passive income. You know, the thing I learned with those 16 properties I owned is that, you know, I went and bought all these residential properties and I thought I'd be free. But actually what happened was I was earning low returns with high hassle. Low returns with high hassle. And then in 2014, I started investing in commercial property and I was getting great returns with low hassle. Great returns with low hassle. And the question I got for you is, Do you want low returns with high hassle, or do you want high returns with low hassle? And that's the difference between a mom and pop investor and someone that thinks about it at an institutionally sophisticated level. So, does that all make sense? We are literally finished the foundation of why. If you're going to build a great building, it has to be built on a good foundation. And the reason that I spent the last hour going into this in detail is that it's really, really fundamentally important that you understand our why, like why do we do what we do, but also that you get very clear on your why, because it's your why that's going to ultimately help you get the results. So type there in the chat box for me what you think in terms of the foundational first 3 steps of the why. Craig, I love that saying, be, do, have. It's something I learned in India in 2018. You know, my father always said, do your best, do your best, do your best. And then I learned, no, it's actually about being your best. Okay, let's move on. So now we go to the setup, and this is all about partners and due diligence. And this is all about the what. So again, you can go to the resources, you can read our cheat sheets in terms of the partners and the due diligence. So where did this all start? Well, you know, many, many years ago, I'd been watching Clem Sunter, who's one of the top strategists in the world. Clem Sunter has lectured at Harvard. He's worked with the Chinese government in terms of all of their growth. He's worked with the South African government in terms of creating the democracy back in 1994. And he's one of the top 5 scenario planners in the world. And I watched him present for many years on his different scenarios, and he's got the flags and the probabilities and the scenarios. And I remember thinking to myself, well, it's kind of pointless if I'm hearing about these scenarios, but I'm not actually doing something about it to make better investment decisions. So I created a 4-dimensional model, and I was too embarrassed to share it with him. And about a year later, I shared it with him. And he was like, wow, Scott, this is really good. You should share this with the world. And if you do, I'll endorse it. So I was like, well, you don't really get too many chances like that from a guy like Clem Sunter. So I literally, the book came out in 2013. It's called Property Going Global. And the foreword was by Clem Sunter. And this was the first time that I was so frustrated because 80% of people that invest overseas actually lose money. And so I was like, well, let's create a book. Let's write a book on how to do this and how to ask the right questions and what's happening in the different countries and where do you find the right information. And I thought I'd write this book as an evergreen book. Well, as it transpired, over the last 10 years, technology's had a massive impact on the way I invest and the way others invest. I've started investing in commercial property. I've started investing in other alternative assets. But at the essence, that book was the foundation upon how we started to do our due diligence. Because from there, we built that into GIDS, the Global Investment Due Diligence System. And again, I'm not going to go into this in massive detail today, but if you were to go through Wealth Going Global, I've literally taken people through this, explained exactly how GIDS 1, which is all residential, GIDS 2, which is commercial, it's all here, and even a master DD checklist for commercial property. So ultimately, it came down to what country do we invest in? What currency do we invest in? How do we find the right partners? How do we find the right cities? How do we find the right assets? How do we do a due diligence on those assets? How do we manage that property? How do we actually earn an income from that property, etc., in terms of what you're looking at? So when you take what I learned with Clem, and Clem Sunter actually helped me do this, was we then created the global property system. And if you look on the left here, you've got low return, high return. So, the graph going up. And at the bottom, you've got low risk, high risk. So logically, you want to be in this yellow block. You want to be in high return, low risk. And what's interesting is that people come to me all the time. They say, oh, London's a great place to invest. And I'm not saying it is or it isn't. What I find interesting is you put the facts in, you put the numbers in, and it gives you better decisions. So what I've learned is that, I always find it interesting that estate agents or salesmen will go like, they always tell you the one place is the best place, and, or medical buildings are the best or whatever it is. Okay. And that's rubbish because no asset class and no country is always good. They go through cycles up and down. And the beauty is if you've got systems, then you can choose the right markets to be investing in, the right assets to invest in at the right time. And so to give you an example of this, and it's quite a detailed slide, I understand that. But the way we operate is that we go out and we don't try and find deals. We focus on finding partners. So you can see here, we go out and we find the partners. Mostly it happens through word of mouth. And we do a due diligence on the partner. We make a decision on the partner. And then the partner brings the deal. And then that deal, we do a due diligence on the deal. And then it goes live on the platform. And once it's live on the platform, we then raise the equity. We book build, which means we close the deal. It goes into an investment structure, so a tax-efficient investment structure. We then implement the investment, which basically means we own it. You get the quarterly distribution, so the income gets paid out quarterly, sometimes monthly, but generally quarterly. You then track the deal, you exit the deal, you get your capital growth on the back end, you get your return of capital, and it all goes back into your wallet in terms of being able to invest. So, one of the things that I think is really important here is myth number 8 is I can go do all the due diligence myself. And I tend to say to people, I don't care how sophisticated you are. Like, I literally don't care how much experience you've got. The chance of you being able to do quality due diligence in multiple countries, multiple cities, multiple assets is virtually zero. Okay. And, I don't care how much money or how many resources you got. It is virtually impossible to be an expert in all markets. And so my belief system is that you can say, oh, well, I'll do it myself, or you can partner. And there's a great interview that I do as part of the challenge with a guy called Selwyn. So Selwyn runs the Callio private equity team. He's one of the co-CEOs. And he's at Cambridge, he's got a Cambridge degree and all of that stuff. And what he says in due diligence is that it's all about partners. So, it's important for you to understand the due diligence, but the quality of your partner is what's going to determine the quality of your results. And so if you want to understand how the Wealth Migrate platform works, is that, you've got your investor bank account. We've each got wallets. So we've all got individual wallets. And then it goes on the platform. So, Wealth Migrate. Then you've got an investment opportunity. So as an example, we've got a deal in Germany right now, or one in Phoenix, Arizona. And then, it aggregates, so all the investors come together. And then you hold it through a tax-efficient vehicle. And then you own the deal. So this is really important because you've got direct ownership in the deal. When the deal pays out on a quarterly basis, the money comes back into a deal wallet and then literally gets distributed to each investor. And you can do with it what you want. You can reinvest that money, or you can put it back in your bank account and you can go on holiday to Disney World. So at a simple level, that is how it works in terms of, investing. And people say to us, well, how do we find our partners? And this is not our system. This is a global system in terms of designating the different types of partners. And so you can see here, you've got tenured, you've got established, you've got developed, and you've got emerging. Now, again, this is all in the cheat sheet, so you can go read this. But you can see here that you've got management experience. So how long has the management team been doing this? How much experience do they have? How long has the company been operating? So this is quite important because, sometimes the company might be quite new, a couple of years old, but the person running the company has been doing it for a long time. And that's why management experience and company, we take both into account. And then assets under management. How much experience, how much track record do they have in terms of, getting results in terms of the process? So this is a very important table. And I want to give you some examples. So Feldman is someone that we've done 2 deals with. They've been through 7 different recessions. They've got $3 billion under management. They've got 100 years worth of experience. They've got over $100 million invested in their own personal capacity. And they've got over 4 million square feet. And so you can see that this is very much if you go back to this, a tenured partner. They've been around for a long time. And this was a building we invested in right in the heart of COVID, actually. This closed in December 2020. And, I invested in this building. And I must admit, I never thought that I would own one of these, sort of bank buildings. But we invested with them back in December 2020. You can see it's about a 9.6% cash on cash and a 16% IRR. So this was a very good deal. Another example of a partner is MAG. So they got 300 million under assets under management. They got 43 properties. They've earned an average return of 18% IRR and a cash on cash of about 9%. And a deal that we did with them was this industrial building in Ohio. It was about an 8% cash on cash and a 12% IRR, to give you an example. Then, something that another deal that we did with them. So this was actually a debt deal. So you can see it was a 10% cash on cash. And again, this was a 1-year deal. So we invested and we've already gone full cycle. So we invested and it's been paid out on the back end. Then structured notes. This is with BNP Paribas. Most people have heard of BNP Paribas, one of the biggest banks in the world. And you got Cashbox and IDAD. So again, been around for decades. And again, another 10-year sponsor. Again, this deal we did was a 15% cash on cash. So, when I say 8%, it's the average. You can see you can get higher deals, but I like to work on averages. And then as an example of an emerging, so you got Mac Roberts Media. So this is an industrial logistics building. And this guy, DWG, Judd Dunning, the company's only been going for 3 to 4 years. But Judd Dunning's been in the capital markets for over 20 years. And so, it's a good example of an emerging sponsor. And this deal we did was an 8% cash on cash and a 17% IRR. So it brings me on to myth number 9. And that's that, I can go get deals on my own. And what I've learned the hard way is that if you try and go and buy deals on your own, you generally are going to get carved up. Okay, and let me explain myself. The way it works, whether you like it or not, the best deals, there's and I'm sorry, ladies, to say this, but there's like an old boys club. And the best deals get farmed out to the old boys club first. And they get picked up without anyone even knowing about it. If it doesn't get picked up by the club, then it goes out to the broker network, to the estate agents and the brokers. And, generally the average investors can participate. And if no one buys it then it goes overseas to international investors. And so if you think that you can find deals on your own, particularly when it's international, from my experience, you're basically buying the crap that no one else wants. And I wanted to share with you some learning lessons. So this is a building that we invested in Australia. And this was the intention. It was going to be 50 units. Residential. It was a development. We put money in and we were going to build it. And what was interesting is that the idea and the mindset at the time, and again, I'm sharing with you my mistakes here. The investment committee, of which I wasn't part of, but the investment committee at the time was all about control. So there was a developer on the ground in Australia and they wanted to control the whole thing. And the problem is that a number of things happened. So the Chinese government changed. So there were pre-sales. If you know how development works, you do pre-sales. And then once you got the pre-sales, you get the bank funding. And then you start the construction and ultimately you make your money on the back end. Well, they had the pre-sales. And then China changed the rules with people being able to take money out of China. And so because of that, all their pre-sales fell over. And because of that, the construction finance fell over. And suddenly, to this day, we own a big bloody hole in the ground in Brisbane, Australia. Another example was, with a group. So our original property team, which was in-house, actually broke away and created a separate company called Allvest. And they were doing medical buildings. And again, their philosophy was, buy the whole building, be completely in control. Until a guy called Richmond Honan, who, by the way, had been around, the company had been around for 40 years, during COVID, actually pretty much committed fraud. And, he was taking the income, but he wasn't paying the banks. And so the banks repossess the properties. And this is, two examples of when it doesn't work. And what I wanted to share with you was there's a fundamental difference here in terms of a mindset. You've got the old school mindset of doing it, and you've got the new age way. So the old school way is all about control. And the new age way is all about diversification and partnership. So if you take a building, I don't care what building it is, it can be a medical building, it can be an industrial building, it can be a house. You're generally going to borrow about 60% from the bank. You're going to have about 30% in private equity, and you're going to have about 10% in equity. Now, in the old school way of doing it, you want to have control. So the investors put in 95% of the cash. In the new age way of doing it, it's the exact same numbers, 60, 30, and 10. But the difference is the investors maybe only put in 10% of the cash. And so they don't have nearly as much control, but they also have a lot less risk. You can see on the left-hand side here, there's a lot more risk than on the right-hand side. So then people say, well, yeah, but Scott, I've got all the control. Cool. Well, you've got concentration. You've got all your money in one place. And what's interesting is you've got control, but if something goes wrong, you actually have to fix it. So as an example, in Australia, that developers run away. By the way, the entire investment committee that became Allvest has run away as well. So us investors, 82 of us, literally have a hole in the ground in Australia, and now we have to try and fix it. So the mindset of control sounds good until you actually have to fix the problem. On the other side of the fence, you've got diversification. So you've got money in multiple different deals. You've got less control, but because you've got local investors, if the shit hits the fan, like they're going to step up and help fix the problem. And so this it's a fundamental mindset shift that people need to go through. Because on the left-hand side, the old school way, it's all about being active. And on the new age way, it's all about, being an armchair investor. The left-hand side is all about scarcity. The right-hand side is all about abundance. And this slide is one of the most profound lessons that I've learned in the last 10 years. And, if I'd known this, I could have saved myself from losing a lot of money, not only for myself, but even with investors, where I've invested alongside investors. Because whenever we've done it with the old school mentality, it has not worked. It's much higher risk. Whereas when we do the diversification strategy, it's much lower risk. And I'll give you a good example. We invested in Manhattan just before Christmas, and it was a $14 million deal. They were raising about $8 million in debt, and we were effectively taking the position of the bank. We put in $500,000. Callio Capital, which is the family office we work with, put in about $1.5 million. So all in, we were in for about $2 million. The rest of the money, so $6 or $7 million, came directly from high net worth, sophisticated and institutional investors in America. I would much rather be a suckerfish on a whale, where we're investing alongside a family office plus other sophisticated and institutional investors. And yeah, granted, we got less control. But if something was to go wrong in Manhattan, there's far greater chance of it being sorted out if you've got institutional and sophisticated investors from America than if you've got a bunch of foreign investors. Does this make sense? Please type in the chat box, because this is a fundamental understanding. And by the way, if you disagree with me now, like if you don't like the philosophy of diversification and partnership, then my strong recommendation is you leave. Because alignment is really important. And to be aligned with us and what we do for you to be successful is critical. And this is what, in our belief, the future is. It's all about diversification and partnership. And if you resonate with that, then I welcome you to stay on this journey. But if you don't resonate with it, if you want to be all about control, that mom and pop mindset, I must own the house myself, I must manage the house, whatever, then we're not the right people to help you. So, what are your thoughts on step 4 and finding the right partners? Can you see the difference between trying to do it all on your own, like I did for 14 years, versus partnership. Marina says managing and controlling the assets like property is a real hassle. Yeah, Marina, I think that's the point. You know, we go and read books like this, Real Estate Riches, and it's like go and buy a whole bunch of houses and then one day I'll be free. I tried that. I had 16 and I wasn't free. It was flipping high hassle, low return, like I explained to you, until I invested in commercial property. And then I had, you know, high return, low hassle, like I've already explained. And I was like, this is a no-brainer. And that was 2014. And I sold off all the residential properties because they made no sense. Right. Let's go on to managing risk and compliance. So again, you can go to your resources here and you can read all about the compliance and risk and the deal risk. So from our perspective, we are in a regulated environment. We are FCA. We work as a juristic rep under an FCA license, which is England. It's a defined financial product. You've got phase protection. You've got European cash custody. So we work with Lemonway, which is the biggest digital wallet provider in Europe. They've got over 8 million wallets. We've got multi-layered compliance. We've got transactional wallets, and we've got data protection and investor ring fencing. So this is really important in terms of the overall understanding and protecting your money. In terms of, you know, people say to me, well, Scott, you know, why is my money safe? Well, there's a number of reasons. So the first one is that there's external cash custody. So what does that mean? Is that you never give me your money. I can't touch your money. It's not like I can go and spend your money or go on holiday or anything like that. Your money is in an external account and you're completely in control of your money. So our platform facilitates it, but the money is external. You got external cash custody. You got discretionary portfolio manager. So that means you've got an external person that's doing due diligence. You got designated investor accounts. So every person has their own wallet. So it's not like some big trust account where, you know, it's being run on a spreadsheet. Like every single person has their own wallet. Every deal is ring fenced. So if there's a problem with one deal, it can't take down another deal. They're completely ring fenced. And by the way, a typical fund or REIT, real estate investment trust, often robs Peter to pay Paul. So if one deal's working and one deal's not, they kind of takes the money from here to put it in there. You know, we don't do that. You've got each deal is ring fenced. You've got designated corporate members. You've got external custody of investments. So again, there's a gentleman in England, and you've got operational and investment segregation. So these are all really, really important in terms of things that are being put in place to protect your money. Now, when you look at a deal, and again, this is not our system, this is the global system. You've got return on the left-hand side. So you've got low return to high return, and you've got risk at the bottom, you know, low risk to high risk. And there's 4 different ways that they categorize deals. You got core, you got core plus, you got value add, and you got opportunistic. So you can see how the core tends to be low return, low risk. Now that might be a building in central London or central Manhattan, and it's got a government tenant and a 20-year lease. It's very low risk, but equally the returns would be really low. You know, you might be getting a 2 to 4% return, and that's a typical thing where, as I said to you, you know, a pension fund or something might buy that because they're getting predictable income. A core plus, that's where there's a little bit more risk, but it's still very stabilized, and often it's in a city, you know, like if you take America, it might be Atlanta. It's not New York, but it might be Atlanta or Austin or Phoenix, you know, one of the big cities, but not, you know, the biggest cities in the country. And a value add is where there's generally execution. So it's like I'm going to buy a building and it might be 70% tenanted, and I'm going to fill it up with tenants. You know, and then I'm going to increase the value, because when you increase the income, you increase the value. So it's called a value add. Now there is risk because it's execution, and if they don't execute, then you don't get the commensurate upside. And then opportunistic, that's where it tends to be a new development, and there's a lot of execution risk, and there's a lot of things that are out of your control. Like you can be the best developer in the world, and the world can change, or the market can change, or interest rates can go up, or like in Australia, the Chinese government changed the rules and, you know, the whole thing fell over. There's a lot of risks that are out of your control. But in simple terms, those are the 4 primary ways that you designate, you know, an asset. So if we look at investor needs, you know, what we're trying to do on this workshop is we're trying to address the investor emotions. We're talking about the safety of your money. We're talking about diversification. We're talking about alignment of interest. So it's very, very important that the sponsor, ourselves as the marketplace, as Wealth Migrate, and you as the investor have aligned interests, because long-term, that's going to make far more impact in terms of getting results. You've got a centralized access point, so you don't have stuff all over the place. You've got one place that you can manage it. You've got ease of transaction. You've got access to information. You've got regular reporting, and you want to de-risk. We believe like this is what investors are looking for and what we're trying to do to help solve in terms of the process. And then it comes down to tax and structuring. And I get asked this all the time. Well, what's happening with tax and structuring? And myth number 10 is quite an important one, because I tend to say to people, you need to be careful. You need to. Sometimes people go and they go see a financial advisor, and they get stuck in like a small little island like Mauritius or the Seychelles or the BVI or Isle of Man, and they kind of get sold into a box, and then they can only buy assets in that box. And what's quite important is that you need to be very clear on why you're doing the tax and structuring. As Garth Wellman, our family office partner at Calio, says, often you need sort of $2 million plus to be investing to make a proper structure make sense. And it can actually make more sense to do it in your own name. Now, I'm not giving you tax and structuring advice, because that's bespoke and individual to every person. But, when it comes to tax and structuring, you've also got to be careful of analysis paralysis. I met a lady about 2 years ago, and she said to me she was given 20 million Rand in inheritance in like 2013, 2014. And she'd done nothing with it because she was too scared of putting it in the wrong structure. And I was like, the Rand has more than halved in that time. Like, you could have put it in any structure you like and you'd be better off. And so you've got to be very careful of analysis paralysis. So that's the end of step 5. And before I go on, I want to ask you a question, because it's at this point, and I've done this for, over 20 years now, presenting. And what I've often been given the feedback is that, I talk fast, it's lots of information, and it's like drinking from a fire hose. So who here resonates with that? Like, it's a lot of information, it can feel overwhelming. Yes, no? Craig says it's great information, and Stel says yes. So I asked you right up front, and I said, I started with a question. I said, what would it mean to you in 12 months or less to be earning a passive income without any hassle or complexity? And the second question I asked you was, how would you like a system which will statistically help you get there 70% faster, safer, and simpler? Do you remember those 2 questions? So I have a question for you. Would you like me to give you a simple solution as to how you could do this? Yes or no? So Craig says yes. Paul says yes. Chensa says yes. Michael says yes. Garth says yes. Ron says yes. So in simple terms, we believe that it's about living a life unlimited. And how do you do it? You do it through smart investing. And I want to teach you one of the best lessons that I learned from a gentleman called Roger Hamilton. So what we taught at school, the formula for success, is that we must go and get clarity. So I will go to school and I'll, finish my school, and then I must go to university and I must study a course. And then once I've done that course, I should probably do an MBA. And once I've done my MBA, I should go study a few more courses. And once I've done all of those courses and got all of that clarity, then I'm going to have confidence. And once I've got confidence, I'm then going to make a commitment. So I'm going to go do all of those degrees, and then I'm going to have confidence to actually be able to be an investor. And then I'm going to make a commitment to invest. And then I'm going to be successful. And the problem is, this is what we taught in school. And it is fundamentally wrong. So let me explain to you why I say that. So there's this book here, Think and Grow Rich, it came out in 1937. And it's created more US dollar millionaires than any other book ever created. And I'm not getting into a religious debate, but the point being is that this book, more millionaires have attributed this book. Now, Andrew Carnegie became the richest man in the world. And when you look at that formula I just gave you and why I said it's wrong, is I love his story. So he was a Scotsman living in America, and he basically decided to build a steel mill. So he went to JP Morgan and he said, I want to build a steel mill. And JP Morgan went like, you're dreaming. So if you take the way of learning in school, you know, he would have gone to university and he would have got a degree in, you know, engineering and, you know, all of that stuff. And once he got all that clarity, you know, then he would have confidence and finally make commitment. But he actually did it completely the opposite. He made a commitment. He said, I'm building a steel mill. And he went out and he spoke to all the people that need steel. So the railways and the developers that build big buildings and the people that build ships. And he said, right, I'm building a steel mill. And the bottom line is, if you buy my steel from me, you know, here in America, you'll be able to get it at a significant discount to the price of steel that's coming in from England and Wales. And with that commitment, he got confidence. And to be fair, the people who were buying from him got confidence. And so he said to them, he said, listen, you can sign a contract now and I'll give you steel once the steel mill is ready. Or I'm going to go down the road to your competitor and they'll be buying steel at 50% of discount of, you know, what you can buy steel for. And so they all signed the contracts. And on the back of all those contracts, he went to JP Morgan because now he had the clarity, and JP Morgan funded it. And the rest is history. He literally became the richest man in the world. And the question is, literally, it all started with commitment. And so my question to you, if you're here and you've been here for the best part of nearly 2 hours, who here is prepared to make a commitment to themselves? You can type in their commitment, you can type in their yes. It's a public declaration. I mean, if you don't want to do it publicly, you can do it privately. But at the end of the day, the people that are going to succeed are the people that are going to make a commitment. And back to what I said when I started, that's why we decided, you know, to create the action bundle. Because having done this for over 2 decades, what I've learned is that I teach people, they're like, oh, that's really good, and then they do nothing. So we created the action bundle so that literally people that make a commitment have a very logical next step. So as part of the action bundle, firstly, you get access to the VIP room. Secondly, you get access to the starter pack light. And thirdly, you get the investor priority service. So all 3 things put together. So for someone that literally has made a commitment, it's like a no-brainer. It's, do I want to get started? Yes or no? And if I do, we created the action bundle to make it a reality. I remind you that the VIP, you get to work with me in the challenge for over an hour every day so that you've got that coaching to change your mindset, to be able to unlock blockages, to be able to get results, to be able to learn and ask any questions that you want. You've got all the replays, so you can literally go and watch it forever. And you've got access to the trainings, you know, for as long as the internet lasts. In terms of the starter pack light, this for us is following the formula. So, you know, if someone wants to make a commitment, they literally get the starter pack light. With that, they get the confidence because they've got a full support system. They get the clarity because they're part of the wealth hackers. And ultimately, they get the success. So you can see how we've literally built the system based on the formula for success. If you join the wealth hacker community, you get to join a like-minded community of over 70, you know, you've got a 70% higher chance of success if you're part of a like-minded community. You've got Motivation Monday. You've got the Wealth Insights where I bring them out every single Friday. You've got WealthE Wednesdays, Lunch and Learn. We've actually changed that, and Shane, we need to update this because we're now doing those once a month on the last Friday of the month. We've got Knowledge where you've got access to digital courses. You've got real people and real stories. You know, we've got a webinar just coming up where we've literally got real people and real stories. We got Wealth Hacks where I go in and I look at people like Richard Branson and Ray Dalio and Kathy Wood. I say, right, what is their formula to success? You know, and people like Warren Buffett, and how do you actually copy them? And then you've got the webinars, the expert webinars, and we're going through a series at the moment where we've had some phenomenal webinars that the wealth hackers get access to in terms of that process. So, these are all the parts that are part of the wealth hacker process. The Wealth Action Bundle, you get access to the VIP room, you get the Wealth Starter Pack Lite, and you get the Investor Priority Service. And I wanted to share with you a couple of people. So Manu is a successful investor, and he was a business owner, and he wanted to start investing overseas. And he actually lost $250,000, so $250,000. And then he found us, and he started investing, and he actually became a shareholder in our company. And I often say to people, it's not only what you get, but imagine what you could save in terms of the mistakes. Hilda started investing with us in 2014. She wanted to, move to America. She bought a whole bunch of commercial properties. And this was actually, I got her invited to Necker Island with Richard Branson. So this was us on Necker Island. And it was those commercial properties that allowed her to move to America a couple of years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, and allowed her to set up and get going in America. Michael Honeysett came on a buyer's trip in 2013, and I'll never forget, he was so clear at the time. He said, listen, I want to do this so that my daughters can have the freedom to live and work where they want. And he had a very clear passive income goal, and he's done it. And, I'm super proud of him. 10 years later, him and his family have immigrated to England, and, he's achieved his objective of giving his daughters the ability to work and live where they wanted. And he said, when I joined, it was the best money I ever spent, and it would never have happened if I tried to do it myself. And, it's not only people with lots of money. Mohammed said, thanks for having the $10 entry. Makes me feel like a property tycoon. Move over Gary Cardone and Trump. He means Grant Cardone. But ultimately, we all get to invest at that institutional level. Alistair and Jody came on an event just like you're on. They took the action bundle. They then went on holiday. And within a month, they started investing. And, she just says here, when you consider how technology has removed the hassle and made it simple and safe, it's truly miraculous. We're very excited to now be on the journey to truly globally diversified portfolio. Frick Nell said, he literally did this, and 7 days later was investing. And he said, fantastic. I can't believe, like I said, 7 days to be an international investor. Pretty cool. And he said, mind blowing. Trevor, has been investing for a couple of years, and he said he's just loving being part of the community. He did his first investment in April 2021, and he's aiming to do 2 to 5 a year. And then, funny enough, I was at an event, and I bumped into Ralph, and I just literally recorded because I was like, well, what's this been like for you?
Hi, Ralph, we're here together, and we had LeaderX. And you literally came up to and said, be using the platform for the last year. Tell us about your experience.
Well, I first was skeptical about the platform, and then I gave it a go. I've been investing on the platform for a year about. Very easy to use. Brilliant deals to invest in internationally. So very happy with the platform as well.
And are you getting your returns? So talk to us about that. So, talking well to go and invest in something, but where do you get your money back? How does it work?
Well, I get paid back into my wallet. I can reinvest that again.
It's awesome. I talk about like chicken that lays an egg, and then, creates another chicken that lays another egg. So, awesome, Ralph. I'm glad you're enjoying it, and thanks. One last question for people. For those that are skeptical like you from a year ago, what did you say to them?
Well, just do it. You've got nothing to lose. Do your due diligence. Take the step.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much, mate.
And my goddaughter who's 12, I actually gave her an action bundle so that she could get started and start investing, at a young age. So if you go to Trustpilot, you can go and see, there's many reviews from people that have been through it in terms of the process, and 4,000 other people that we've taken on the journey over the last 20 odd years. So again, the Wealth Action Bundle is you get access to the VIP room, you get the Wealth Starter Pack, and you get the Investor Priority. If you do it, we're going to give you a $10 voucher. And what's going on here? Where's it gone? And what's interesting is that the total value of the package is $1,500. So if you put it all together, the total value is $1,500. You know, if you do it normally, like the price that we normally charge is $244. But we've actually decided on this investor roadmap to make it a no-brainer, like literally a no-brainer. So it's $27, and you know that's an 89% discount. Why have we done that? We've literally tried to make it as affordable as possible. Our logic is we don't want any barriers to entry, whether you've got millions of dollars to invest or whether you've got $100 to invest. We want people to be able to get going and to be able to get started. And, you know, some people say, well, Scott, why do you charge anything? When people pay, they pay attention. So remember I told you we used to give away vouchers for free and no one did anything. So what we found is that if people actually pay, even though it's a very small amount of money, but they make that commitment, they've mentally shifted to actually getting started. So I can see Shane's put the link in there. You can literally go to the Wealth Action Bundle. This will only be available for the next couple of days. It's a unique thing that we do for the Investor Roadmap Workshop. And it's literally, in our opinion, a no-brainer for people that want to get started and want to make that commitment. Because you're making that commitment, we're going to put $11 into your wallet. So your minimum investment in a deal is $10. So it means you can actually get started. You're going to get access to the tax and currency partners. You're going to get access to our investor test. You get access to the 8 steps to wealth through real estate. You'll get the power of clarity. You'll get the diversification masterclass. And, you know, we live in crazy times. You know, we've got the war in Ukraine, you know, inflation through the roof, you know, interest rates rising, you know, fuel prices through the roof, load shedding in South Africa, you know, the stock market all over the place. And you can even add sort of Israel and all the challenges taking place there. We'll chuck in another module called Creating Lasting Change, which is where I was personally trained by Tony Robbins in the psychology of how to get results and success, which is really important. So we believe a lot in the philosophy of a bird flying in a flock can fly 70% further than a bird flying on its own. And so that's about coming together. We do have a 30-day money-back guarantee. So we've literally made it a no-brainer for people with no risk. And again, to remind you, this is everything you're going to get. I mean, the VIP experience alone is $47. So you're already getting it at, you know, half of that. And, you know, we're giving you back $11. So it's hardly costing you actually anything. But the point being is that we've made the action bundle an easy way to get started in terms of that process. Who's this for? It's for people that are into personal development and want to grow and be coachable. It's for people that want to build a globally diversified passive income. And it's for people that believe in the power of community. So not trying to do it all on their own, but doing it through partnership. And ultimately, it's for people that want to get there in the fastest, safest, and simplest way with the least hassle and complexity. Who's it not for? It's not for people who don't commit. It's not for complainers and blamers. It's not for time wasters. And it's not for people with difficult personalities. And, you know, when people say to me, well, why should you do it with us? I told you already all the reasons. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I don't have the knowledge. Well, we believe we've removed those. You know, we've created this. The Wealth Hacker community is there to try and condense time. So to make your time as valuable as possible. You know, I don't have the money. Well, we've literally made it, you know, almost a no-brainer in terms of affordability. And then I don't have the knowledge. Well, that's exactly what we're doing through not only sharing the knowledge, but also through partnership and giving you access to the partners. The other reason we believe you should work with us is that we're the only ones that, to my knowledge, do global diversification. So if you're wanting different countries, different currencies, different assets, different partners, to my knowledge, we're the only one. Look, I've spent an absolute fortune on personal development and learning and growing. Like I said to you, I'm a big believer in trying to put myself in the room where I'm the dumbest, poorest person. You know, I spent $14,000 to be part of Singularity University, $25,000 a year to be part of Roger Hamilton's Crystal Circle, $40,000 to be part of Mavericks, which actually got me to go to Necker Island with Richard Branson, and then $50,000, you know, to be part of Business Mastery with Tony Robbins. And this was a picture of me and him on Necker Island. So, you know, I know this works because I've done it for myself. And that's why I wanted to share it with others. But we also wanted to make it as affordable as possible. So literally for $27, you can get started in terms of the Wealth Action Bundle. So if it is something of interest to you, I'd recommend you go to the wealthactionbundle.com. And as I say, it's only going to be open for a limited time. There is a 30-day money-back guarantee, so it really is risk-free. And if you go to the page, you can actually see what all the other people that have done this before have had to say about the process in terms of where we're at. So, can you believe that we are nearly at the end of the what? So now it's about setting up the platform. And just type in the chat box for me, your thoughts so far. Okay, so thank you for all the comments. I appreciate it. Right, now it's time to get into the meat. So we've got all the theory, we've learned about walking, but now it's time to step up and start walking. So point number 6 is setting up your investment platform. So the Migrate platform, has been created where you can literally create your profile in a couple of minutes. And, you've got access to global quality partners and investment opportunities. You can invest from as little as $10. There's no hassle. There's no management. There's no complex tax and structuring and bank accounts and all that other stuff. And really what you can do is focus on creating, true global wealth in terms of that process. So it's really, really important for people to understand this, because now it becomes focusing on the best deals versus getting, all of that hassle and complexity that used to be, part of investing. I tend to say to people, there's 4 simple steps. You sign up, you complete your profile, you fund your wallet, and you invest. Let's go through those. So if we go through those 4 simple steps, if you literally go to the platform and you sign up, you go online and you can literally sign up, and you can see it's a screen recording, and you accept the terms and conditions, and you literally sign up and register. You'll get an email. You must just check your spam folder in case you don't get the email, and ultimately you have to verify. The next thing, you have to select the country of residence. So depending on where you live, Lemonway accepts about 90 countries in the world. So we help, most people around the world, but there are countries like Zimbabwe where they don't allow investors. So where you come from is important. And then your investor category, it's called self-certification. You have to self-certify yourself as to the type of investor you are. And the type of investor gets access to different types of deals from a regulatory perspective. Step 2, you then verify your account and complete your profile. So again, as I say, the email will come through. You have to verify your account. And this is where you go in and you put in, like, it's all automated, it's all online, but you put in your KYC documents, which is know your client. So unfortunately, this is a bit of a manual process. It's the only hard part of this process, and there's nothing we can do about it. It's the law. It's international money laundering, so it's called AML. And whenever you open a bank account or rent a house out or anything, there's always KYC and AML. The good news is you do it once and it's done. You don't have to do it again. So my strong recommendation is just do it properly, and then it's done. You do everything online and upload it. We like to say it takes about 2 days because there are manual processes and humans involved. Realistically, it might take a little bit longer because we are dealing with Lemonway, which is based out of France. So depending on availability, etc. Obviously, you've got to have working hours. But realistically, it takes a couple of days to get set up. Then you fund your wallet, and that's where you literally, you're in control. It's your money, and you literally send your money to your wallet. And you can see there you've got a unique reference, and you must use that unique reference to deposit your money. So if I just go here, and I'm going to show you mine quickly. Oh, hang on. If I go to Migrate, I'm going to show you live now, and I log in. If I go to my wallet here, you can see I can withdraw funds. you know, and I can put it straight into my bank account, or I can deposit funds, you know, and I must use this unique reference here. But in simple terms, it's my money. I'm in complete control of my money. And you can actually go through and you can see all my, you know, investments and my distributions and everything in my wallet, you know, in terms of the process. So the first 3 steps, you know, is all about getting you started. And if you do sign up, you know, there's valuable tools that we give you, like the investor strategy guide to help you make better decisions. We'll give access to the eWealth pack, and we'll also give you free access to the WealthE University. So if you haven't signed up, literally go to wealthmigrate.com. Maybe Shane, if you can just put it in the chat box as well. So wealthmigrate.com. And we've got a unique reference for people that have come from the investor roadmap. And you can literally go and sign up and you'll get those tools and you can get started. So you can see Shane's put it there in the chat box for all of you in terms of that process. So ladies and gentlemen, that is step 6 done. Now we get into the meat of it, because now it's about how the platform works and it's actually about investing. So, you know, we've dealt with the why, we've dealt with the what, and now it's the how. So I don't know if it's just me, but this is the part that I always get excited, because you've got all this knowledge now. And it's like, okay, cool. I know why I want to do it. I know what I'm going to do. But now the question is how to do it. And this is the part where I get excited. So let's go into step 7. And this is the how the platform works. So this is the point where you can actually go and, you know, step 4 here is you can browse the marketplace deals. And I wanted to share with you, because I prefer actually doing this live. So if I literally go into the live platform now, and if you're watching the recording, you know, these deals, you know, might have closed or whatever. So don't worry about the actual deal, but I just want to kind of share with you the process. So if you look at the platform, firstly, you can have different profiles. So I've got in my own name, plus I've got an offshore structure. I can go and, you know, click on the marketplace. I can look at all deals. I can look at US deals. I can look at real estate. I can look at other alternative investments. I can go look at my portfolio. So I can kind of see my total investments all in one portfolio. I can go to my wallet and I can, you know, be in control of my money and everything that's there. And I can also manage my portfolio, which is all to do with KYC and everything all online. But we're at step 4 now, because we actually want to go and invest. So let's say that I look through this opportunity and I can see that there's 2 deals here. There's one in Phoenix, America. You can see the little American flag. And this is a 6% cash on cash and a 16% IRR. It's an industrial building in Phoenix. Phoenix is one of the top 3 cities in America, fastest growing cities in America, 14% average rent growth. And what's really interesting in this building is we actually bought this a year ago. When I say we, along with our partners, bought it a year ago. And there was a gentleman that was going to put in $500,000. And he kept promising it was coming. And Judd actually funded him. So Judd's the partner of DWG. And Judd funded him. And the money hasn't been forthcoming. So he came to us and he said, hey, look, I know we bought this deal a year ago. I know the asset's performing. I know it's paying every month. And there's $1 million in equity, you know, that was received right up front when the building was bought. You know, they always say buy at a good price. And do you want to participate? And we said, definitely want to participate. Like, we've already invested in this deal, but we want other investors to be able to participate. So, you know, you can literally go here. You can read all about it. You can see that it's a 5-year deal. You can see that it's an emerging sponsor. You can see that from a risk perspective, it's a core plus deal. You can go and download the documentation. So you can literally just let it download there. But you can download the brochure. You can go read about the risks. And, you know, what's interesting is you can put in, like, if I'm going to invest, I don't know, $50,000, it's got a returns calculator. So and you can do it with fees, without fees. So we're completely transparent. You can see exactly what you're getting. So the green is what you earn in your pocket. And you can literally see the income you earn plus the capital growth. So if you invest $50,000, you know, over 5 years, you're going to, you know, get $104,000. So it's a 2x multiple on return. You know, for those people like me that like a brochure, and I kind of want to print it out, his stuff, it's all there. You can do that. But let's just say, okay, so that's the one deal, that's in Phoenix. Now we go here, and we go, oh, we're going to get an airplane, we're going to fly right across the world to Europe. And here there's an opportunity in Europe. It's a mixed use building in Germany. And you can see here, it's nearly a 7% cash on cash and a 16% IRR. And this is with a partner that's been, doing deals in Germany for 20 years. He was part of Redefine, which is a massive property fund, and actually setting up their whole operation in Europe and in Germany. And what's interesting here is that as an investment, the euro is expected to increase in value against the dollar over the next 5 years. And so a lot of people are often quite exposed in the US dollar. And this is a great hedge from a currency perspective. So you can see it's also a Core Plus. Again, you can go and download the document and read all about it. The same sort of process. But now let's just assume that I like this deal. So I want to invest in this deal. So I literally go, I'm going to invest from $10, and I go continue. And I literally digitally, tick the contracts, and I go agree, and I go make investment. And you've literally just watched me invest in Germany. Now, if I go to my pending investments and I go, oh, hang on, I made a mistake here. I've invested in Germany, more times than I wanted to. I can literally remove my investment. Like, I'm in complete control until the deal transfers. I'm in complete control of my money. And what's so cool, and again, I'm just going to stop sharing here quickly. I don't know if people understand the power of what I've just shared. So sometimes, if it looks too simple, it sounds too good to be true, all of that type of stuff. 10 years ago, if you want to invest in Germany, you would have had to fly to Germany with me. We would have had to set up an offshore structure. We would have had to create a bank account for you. You would have had to have a minimum of $250,000 to invest in this deal. We then would have helped you participate in this deal. There would have been a lot of management and hassle and complexity. It probably would have taken months, generally about 6 months, to do this process. And you've literally just watched me invest in Germany in under 30 seconds. Do you understand the power of what I've just shared with you? Does this get you excited? Like it gets me excited. We did a webinar 2 nights ago where we had Peter, the German partner. We had Judd, the American industrial partner. We had Anthony that does data centers out of Asia, Europe, and America. He's got $5 billion under management. We had Garth Wellman, the CEO of Callio Capital, our family office. And they were all talking about the way the world's changing and how you get access to these quality institutional assets and how technology has enabled that. And, for me personally, like, I tend to say to people, they're like, oh, I can invest in Germany. Cool. I was like, I don't think people truly understand how much of a game changer this is. Because with $10 now, you can invest alongside family offices and the wealthiest of the wealthy and get access to the same opportunities. So if you're excited like I am, then give us a woohoo or something, because, like, I used to scream and shout at this point, and Shane was like, you can't do that because Zoom like blocks you out. So, but like, whenever I share this with people, I actually get quite emotional, because I don't think people fully understand like how powerful this actually is for them in terms of their, in terms of them getting results. Okay, so what you're basically seeing is you browse the marketplace, and we've, in terms of a track record, we've got members in over 170 countries. We've got investors in over 70 countries. We've facilitated over $1.3 billion in deals across 4 different continents. We've had over $100 million invested in the platform. We've paid out over $35 million in dividends and distributions, etc. And the question people always say to me is, it's sort of the unspoken question, but it's, how do you make money? And so the question is, let's rather just deal with it right up front so that people can, understand it. And I've been using Airbnb for a long time. And when I understood Airbnb, I was like, why don't we make it simple, just like Airbnb? So the way Airbnb works is that they only make money when you make money. So if you own a house and you put your house on Airbnb, you don't have to pay to be on Airbnb. You make money when Airbnb rents out your house. And so our philosophy was to do exactly the same thing with the platform. And, the traditional financial advisor will earn a fee whether your asset is going up or down. Like, they don't care. They just want to get assets under management. Whereas we decided, no, it should be performance-based and we should be aligned. And so upfront, there's a 3% fee, and that's a structuring fee. You can see that it's broken down into running the platform, structuring the services, and the investor acquisition and marketing. So it's a direct cost to doing the deal. And then we generate our fees based on a performance. So we have a profit share of 10%. So we only make money after you make money. If you don't make money, we don't make any money. So we're incentivized to help people win and get results. We've kept it clean, we've kept it simple, we've kept it easy. So that is step 7. And, I've already jumped ahead, quite frankly, to step 8, which is the investing, because I've literally gone in and shown you how to invest in a deal in terms of the process. And you've literally seen me invest in Germany already in terms of the overall process. So, whether it's Germany or Manhattan, we've got a deal coming up in Austin. We've got another one coming up in London. The deals will be changing all the time. People say to me, Scott, why don't you have 40 deals on the platform? And the logic is, we don't want 40 deals. We want quality, not quantity. We want quality, not quantity. We don't want to be a flea market. And so, to give you an example of this, was we worked with Callio Private Equity, and this was a deal that we did just before Christmas. So Selwyn was the Cambridge PhD in mathematics from Cambridge. Glenn is his partner. They've both been in private equity for more than 20 years. This was a deal that we did in Manhattan. So it was a church that was being renovated and into apartments. And you can see here the pictures of the property. And what was really interesting is that this deal was a 12-month deal, and it had a 10% cash-on-cash return. And what I love about it is, I've never had the opportunity to invest in New York, let alone Manhattan. And now, by partnering with institutional partners like Callio Private Equity and the partners on the ground there, we've got access to deals that we just previously would never have had access to. I've already shared with you the new Phoenix deal. Now, if you're watching the recording, this might be over already, but we've got a launch literally next week. And maybe, Shane, if you can put up the landing page there, because we've got a lovely, landing page in terms of this whole Phoenix deal. I've spoken a bit about it already. We're going to be, I'm going to be interviewing the partner, Judd Dunning, as to what's happening in the American market, specifically what's happening in the industrial markets, what's happening with interest rates. Why is there such a significant opportunity? I mean, just yesterday, or on Tuesday, sorry, Judd was presenting on that panel I spoke of. And, as he says, it's a generational opportunity right now in the industrial markets in terms of, where we're at. So if I, sorry, showing you there, if you could just put up the landing page, I'd appreciate it. In terms of the Phoenix deal, and then I've already kind of spoken to the Germany deal and the fact that you can be earning euros in terms of that process. So let me just, I want to go back here. Just give me 2 seconds. So you can literally go to the landing page here. I'll put it in the chat box for everyone. And you can go and read all about it in terms of it. So you can see here, you've got the launch. You need to join the launch, and then all about Phoenix, one of the top 3 cities in America, why the deal highlights, the projected returns, everything about the partner, why the asset class. I mean, it's got an 18-year lease in place, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, you can go read all about it. And yeah, I'd highly recommend you come and join the launch in terms of that process. Okay. And then launching soon, we've actually got a deal coming up in Austin. So Austin, Texas, and that's going to be a 9% cash on cash and a 3-year investment in terms of the process. So that's coming to the platform soon. So that is step 8. That's the deals. It's about investing. And the final step, step 9, is about earning. And I learned this from Dr. Hannes Dreyer many, many years ago. And, you know, what I liked about it is that life shouldn't be, you know, you should enjoy the journey. It shouldn't just be, you know, you're waiting for an end game. And so what I learned from Hannes 20 years ago is that if you've got an investment allocation and you've got your surplus, you've got your expenses, you've got your assets, and you've got your passive income, if you've got a surplus of $1,000 a month, you know, you've got different expenses, you've got interest, you've got capital, and you've got fund. And his logic was that you should, you know, put some money towards your capital, so growing your asset base. You should put some money towards your fund, so living life and having fun. And you should put some money towards your expenses and, you know, paying off your interest, et cetera, et cetera. So if you do this, you know, you're going to build your asset base, and ultimately that's going to build your passive income. And your goal is where your passive income is, you know, is more than your needs, which ultimately gives you that freedom that you want in terms of the process. So yeah, Craig, it's called the Mercedes principle, 100%. And, you know, I could talk about this for hours, but in simple terms, this is what you're wanting to achieve. So you're building your assets that ultimately derives your passive income, that ultimately gives you the freedom. And why this is so important is that the world has changed. You know, we've all been taught, my father was taught, that you go to school, you work and you save for retirement, and then you retire and hopefully you die before your money runs out. I'm sorry to be direct, but that's what we've been taught. And the lifespan was sort of on average 75 years. Nowadays, with the new economy, our lifespan is 90 years plus. In fact, they call it the 100-year life. And what's really important is that you need to be learning and growing the entire way through. And you ultimately want to be buying assets that can pay you passive income forever, not only for you, but even for your future generations. And this mindset is so important because you've got to change from the old way of doing it, which is where you invest to retire and you hope you don't run out of money, to you invest in quality assets to build passive income that can last forever. Does this make sense? There's a number of articles that we've got on the 100-year life, and I would highly recommend that you go and look them up, not only for yourself but for your children and, you know, for everyone, you know, because this is a game changer in terms of understanding. So, has anyone got any questions? You know, at the end of the day, we've been through all 9 steps, and I'd like to know in the chat box if you've got any questions before I move to my conclusion. Because again, we started with why. So it's all your foundational stuff. Why is this important? We then went to the what. What do you actually do? And then we went to the how. So before I conclude, are there any questions or anything, any comments that I can help with? Well, no. If you take the action bundle, you can get started from, you know, $27. Ron, in terms of deals, if your money's in a deal, you need to wait for the deal to close and be sold to get your money back. So you can't, it's not like a stock market where you can buy and sell on a daily basis. You're investing in an asset. It's like if you and I buy a house. We own the house until we sell it. Brett's asking, why not get the banks to fund everything? You know what's interesting, if you take that Manhattan deal, the banks are so difficult nowadays with funding. It can take 6 to 12 months to get funding from a bank. One of the fastest growing assets around the world is debt, where effectively private investors are replacing the banks. And so like that Manhattan deal, we effectively were the bank. Like we're putting our money down as the bank, and we're getting paid about a 10% return. The developer is prepared to pay that because it's pretty much nearly the same price as what they're paying the bank anyway, but without all the hassle. And so, you know, private debt, it's called first mortgage debt, is effectively replacing banks and becoming more and more of an opportunity around the world. So Craig, in terms of how do I integrate with Anne, so I mean, Anne's a good friend of mine. I've got a huge amount of respect for her. You know, Anne talks about the pyramid and ultimately how you need a balanced portfolio. And so, you know, if you're investing in index trackers and the stock market, that's part of your portfolio. And then you've got property and alternative assets. That is another part of your portfolio. It's not either or, it's and both. Ron is saying in an estate. Yeah, so I assume you mean your estate, you own your assets, in terms of the overall process. If you want to explain a bit more there, Ron, I can try and help. So I want to, if people have questions, you can fire them in there. Do you have a comparative on returns using both investment channels? It's interesting you say that. So what we do, Craig, is that every month we run, so part of our mastermind, every month we run our mastermind and we bring in the Calio Capital guys, and they literally present every single month. So I'm just trying to find the latest commentary. Here it is here. And if you look here, like they go through this. So this is for our mastermind members. And every month they take us through like what's happening in the different stock markets. What do we need to know? Like what's the good, what's the bad? And then they take us through all the assets. And this is what you're asking for in terms of comparison. So every month we look at all the different assets. And so as an example, you know, the stock market is this one in purple, and also this one in blue. And you can basically see the different asset classes and how they're performing on a monthly basis in terms of it. So hopefully that helps you. And then you know, as an example, every month. So this last month, the month of what month are we in now? May. He was talking about artificial intelligence. He was talking about the job data and the impact that's going to have on inflation. He was also talking about crises like wars and stuff and the impact that has on stock markets. So it's just an example of, you know, getting the right information and having the right partners to be able to make the right decisions. Okay. I want to, there's a couple more questions that are coming in, but I'll address them. I want to wrap up and then I'll address the questions. I'll stay as long as I need. So if you take the learning curve for any new skill, let's take investing as an example. What's happened today in the last couple of hours is your skills would have increased quickly. But the problem is this afternoon, when you go back to work, it'll fall off. It's called the ceiling of complexity. Like it's pretty much guaranteed. So the good news is that, you know, this evening, you'll be better off than where you were this morning in terms of that growth. But there's only one thing you can do to continue growing. Can anyone tell me in the chat box what it is? Be do have. It's repetition. So, you know, Craig said be do have, Mike said take action. It's repetition. Repetition is the mother of skill. So you repeat it over and over and over again. And if you take a year from now, this is why our mastermind is a year, because you start here and you have this repetition over and over and over again, and it just helps you get to a far, far better place. So repetition is the mother of skill. And if you remember, we started off with this rich dad, poor dad, and the whole graph. And, you know, some people will be a beginner, some people will be intermediate, some people will either be highly advanced and sophisticated. But the question is, it's how to become a global citizen and to create globally diversified passive income. That's the objective. That's the goal. And, you know, when you look at it, we went through the 10 myths today. The first myth, and hopefully I've debunked these myths for you. But the first myth was that you have to do it all yourself. And I've literally shown you, I did that for 14 years. It doesn't work. Well, it does work, but it's a lot harder versus partnering with others. The second is that, you know, seminar companies and expensive courses, you know, people go, I mean, I know people that have paid £250,000 to do a property course in England. And then they have to like fly to England and whatever. And I'm like, geez, if you just invested your £250,000, you'd be getting such a better return in terms of your results. So, you know, it's not about learning. It's about learning while doing in terms of the overall process. Some people think there's one great investment. If I invest in the next Google versus the ongoing commitment and consistency with diversification, which is all about the wealth plan. Buying a single house or apartment, I'm going to go buy a house in South Africa, I'm going to go buy a house in London. And, again, hopefully I've shown you, that mom and pop mindset. You've got low returns and high hassle. And you're actually very exposed from a risk perspective because you've got all your eggs in one basket versus high returns and low hassle. Do you want low returns and high hassle, or do you want high returns and low hassle? I don't have the money. Again, you can get started from $10. So in my opinion, anyone that has access to the internet and is here has the ability. I don't have the time. Well, we've reduced the time dramatically. I mean, what used to take 6 to 12 months, you can now do in 30 seconds in terms of the process. And I don't have the knowledge. Well, I don't expect anyone to have the knowledge in all the different markets, all the different cities, all the different partners, all the different asset classes. But what we do is we bring the right partners to the table so that you can partner with them and you can invest alongside them and you can leverage off their knowledge. I can do the due diligence myself. Again, you might be highly sophisticated in the country you live in, but to go to multiple countries, multiple currencies, multiple assets, multiple partners, it takes 10 years to master anything. And, it's one of the reasons why when we work with partners, we only want to work with people that have at least 10 years track record. I can get access to the best deals on my own. I tend to say, okay, well, I've already told you that pretty much the stuff, if you're an international investor, that you're getting access to is the crap that no locals want to invest in, versus investing with institutional local partners and investing alongside them. And that's the whole, power of the crowd and investing together. And then finally, investing in the Seychelles or other small tax havens. You need to be careful of going through these little jurisdictions that are supposedly, good for tax. From our experience, you just get stuck in a box, and then that financial advisor just sells you whatever products they've got in their box. So if you remember, we started off with the 6 needs. And I tend to say to people, over a year, imagine if you were working on your belief, your knowledge, your access and your investment, your system, your support and your accountability, and your results. Can you see the difference that this would make to you over the next 12 months? Yes? No? Craig says yes. Anyone else? Michael says yes. Nelson Mandela said, money won't create success. The freedom to make it will. And, I love this video.
I have walked a long walk to freedom. It has been a lonely road, and it is not over yet.
The wealth journey is a lonely road. And most people, it's hard to talk to your friends and family and even your financial advisor, etc. And that's why, I started today talking about a journey. I started talking about climbing Kilimanjaro and how I had Chifu and how he helped me on this journey. And my invitation to you is to come on the journey. If what you've heard, makes sense to you and resonates with you, then come on the journey. And, when you say, well, what are the next steps? That's why we created the Wealth Action Bundle. Because for so many years, people have said to me, it's like drinking from a fire hose, Scott. It's so much information, I don't know what to do next. And we were like, well, you can keep doing what you were taught in school, which is, I must go on this course, or I must read another book, or, and I'll get the clarity. And then, once I got the clarity, I'll have the confidence. And once I got the confidence, I'll make the commitment. And then I'll have success. And I've shown you it's wrong. I mean, I learned this from Roger Hamilton. It's literally wrong. And Andrew Carnegie and the story of Andrew Carnegie proved it. It all starts with making a commitment. Then it's confidence, then it's clarity, and then you get success. So it literally all starts with this commitment. And the question I have for everyone is that if you're still here, I strongly recommend that you make a commitment to yourself. And, whether you want to partner with us or not is your choice. but do something. And that's why we created the action bundle. You know, it's over $1,500 worth of value. We're literally giving to people for $27. It's like a no-brainer. We've literally on purpose made it a no-brainer. As part of that, you'll get access to the VIP, which is worth $47 on its own. And, or sorry, you pay $47. It's worth a lot more than that. You know, it's probably worth about $8,000 in terms of, you know, working with me in a one-on-one environment, a group environment after each event. You've got access to the replays. You've got access to all the trainings, etc. You've got the starter pack light, which is where literally you make the commitment. Then you're going to get the confidence, the clarity, and ultimately the success. We literally built it to help people achieve it. There's a kind of a no-brainer in terms of a money-back guarantee. So even if you're not sure, you can take action and you can, you know, get your money back if you don't like it. And to give you an example of some people that did this, you know, Don van Rensburg in 2008 invested with us in Greenwich in London. He bought 4 properties for £313,000 each. They were at a 26% discount at the time. And he owned them for 10 years and he had positive cash flow the whole time. And then he sold each of them about a year ago for $1 million each. I mean, who here would like to buy property for 300 and sell it for $1 million? You know, Ryan Buerta wanted to move to Australia. And so in 2009, we helped him buy 5 houses in Australia. And again, we didn't buy a house that he wanted to go live in. We bought in the best cities. So Brisbane and Melbourne were the 2 best performing cities. We bought kind of a typical 4-bedroom, you know, 2-bathroom mom and pop type house. That's what, you know, the typical Australian wants. And, you know, it was the best performing market in the G20 in 2009, 2010. So, you know, Ryan did that and, you know, 5 years later, immigrated to Australia, sold those houses and is now living on the Gold Coast. Chad Pope started investing in Australia in 2011. Then he started investing in America, then in commercial property, and more recently has brought structured notes to our platform and really epitomizes, you know, a true global citizen. Kurt Dupree was a farmer and, you know, he bought his first property in America in 2012. And, you know, it's all about his diversification. Martin Freeman, who is now a CEO of a property company, I mean, he didn't know anything about property and he actually came on our buyers trips with us. He bought properties. He got into commercial property in America. We managed to help him through one of our partners get an EB5 so he could immigrate to America. And he now actually runs a property company in America based on what he learned. Alan Carnock was, you know, a very successful developer, but he knew that the only way to do it in a different country was through partnership. And so he came on multiple trips overseas and, you know, and invested alongside us and our partners in deals. You know, Dirk wanted to invest because his kid loves motocross and he wanted to have the passive income so that his son could do motocross, which he achieved. Ricky Jack, you know, people say, well, you know, I'm too old, I'm too young. Ricky came on a buyer's trip when he was 22. Him and his dad bought a property. He's now in his early 30s and he's done over $1 billion, facilitated over $1 billion worth of property in America in terms of the process. Jacob Moritz wanted to, you know, invest and ultimately to provide him the freedom so that his son could go to university in America. And again, by doing this process, he was able to achieve that. And so again, you can go and look at all the people on Trustpilot. You can read all about it and see what over 4,000 other people have done. And like I said, I don't really know what Shane, Alex, and myself can do, you know, to get people to take action other than our action bundle. Like we've literally made it an absolute no-brainer for people that want to participate. To remind you of the bonuses in the action bundle, you're going to get $11 commitment bonus, access to the tax and currency partners, the investor test, the 8 steps to wealth, the power of clarity masterclass, the diversification masterclass, and the creating lasting change. And then just to chuck in a few extra bonuses, I created a wealth code years ago, and I keep that wealth code in my wallet. And, you know, we'll give you this wealth code as a bonus if you join the action bundle. So it's like a little credit card. You literally, here's mine, and you literally keep it, you know, in your wallet. And what I love about it is, you know, focus on income generating assets, don't lose money, asymmetric risk reward, tax efficiency, diversification across and within assets, markets, currencies, and time. The fundamentals of investing, real estate, and business don't change. Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Gratitude is the key to happiness. Your mind creates your destiny and your life. Nurture it. Chaos is your best friend. In chaos, there's opportunity. To risk nothing is to risk everything. And be constantly learning. So yeah, if you join the Action Bundle, we'll give you the wealth code. We'll also give you our manifesto and screensaver for the wealth hackers. So, you can literally print this out and put it on your screen or put it on the wall. And then lastly, if you want a copy of Think and Grow Rich. So I told you already, this book, we'll give it to you both in a PDF and we'll give it to you in an audio file. Now, why the audio is good is that you can listen to it while you're driving or running or at gym. And, I've listened to this book probably 10 times. I've run Comrades a couple of times, and I listened to the entire book while I ran Comrades as an example. So these are all gifts that we'll give you if you join the Action Bundle. How does it work? Well, in simple terms, we've copied the laws of nature. A bird flying in a flock can fly 70% further than a bird flying on its own. And so we copied the laws of nature. We've removed any risk. So again, you've got the 30-day money-back guarantee in terms of the process. And literally, if you want to make a commitment and you want to take action, then, the wealthactionbundle.com is where you go. And it's an 89% discount. But do take advantage. It's not going to be there forever. So we only do them, we only offer it at the investor roadmap, and it'll only be up for the next day or two in terms of that process. And then if you want to go to Trustpilot, one of the things that I would appreciate is, obviously I've given of my time and my knowledge and everything for free. I've tried to add as much value as I possibly can. You've heard about my purpose, my why, and trying to empower everybody to invest like the top 1%. It starts with your belief system. It encompasses your knowledge, and ultimately it's about your access and your investing and getting your results. But if it's something that resonates for you, I would deeply appreciate if you would go to Trustpilot and just share it with others, because people trust other people. And so if we're going to change the world, we need to do it one person at a time. And it's all about building trust in terms of, people believing in a different way of being able to invest, moving away from that mom and pop investing mindset to that institutional mindset, that sophisticated mindset, and realizing that you can participate in that process. And Shane, thank you for putting up the link. I appreciate it. I remind you also of the challenge. If you've enjoyed this, we go a lot deeper over 5 days. It's 2 hours a day for 5 days. And it's all about turning money into globally diversified passive income. So it's about understanding your why. It's understanding diversification. It's the type of investments, the asset classes, and the risk, the what. It's about building a diversified portfolio, the asset allocation, the how. It's about risk management, the who. And it's about putting into practice the when. So if you're interested in that, go along to the diversificationchallenge.com and you can sign up for our next one. And then in terms of our mastermind, this is our top of the tree. And this is where people, I've worked with high net worths for many, many years. Like I said to you, 10, 12 years ago, people were coming on buyers trips with me to England and America and Australia. And the mastermind is really the digital equivalent. People were like, look, Scott, I understand what you're doing, but I want you to hold my hand. I want to be part of a community. I want someone to do it with me. And so we created the mastermind about 18 months ago. And we got the most incredible community of people from England, Ireland, Italy, Germany, Portugal, Spain, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Swaziland. The most phenomenal mix between, high-powered business people to investors, to teachers, we've got a plumber, to farmers. So we've got a very diverse geographic background, skills background, and it's just the power of community coming together. How does it work? Well, there's 5 simple steps. So step 1 is that we get very clear on your outcomes. So I work with you. I'm a certified coach, and I literally work with you one-to-one and get very clear on your top 3 outcomes and your top 3 measures. And, for me, it's all about this. It's not being caught up in your problems and your drama. It's getting very clear on what the outcome is you're looking to achieve. And this was, I did this a couple of months ago. I helped someone a couple of months ago. And they literally send me this voice note, which I thought you would like.
Hi, Scott. This is just a quick fan message. Just wanted to thank you again for our coaching call the other day. And then also wanted to thank you for the brilliant idea of that, sort of publicly putting in your goals in that Google Sheet. I see that the Google Sheet magically populated itself since the first time I saw it. And I must say the 2024 goals are very inspiring. And it's amazing to see. I found it incredibly supportive to see, people's just the amount of energy and the goals, and it's really inspiring. So just wanted to thank you for that. I really enjoyed reading everybody's goals. I haven't read all of them, but and somehow it's just really helpful. All right, well, have a fantastic day, and we'll see you in February. Bye.
Hendrik sent me a thing and he said, Scott, you're a true master at your craft. It was immensely valuable to me. I'm very excited about the 3 areas we identified, as well as the goals and measures. I consider myself highly blessed to be part of the mastermind group. Then step 2 is about analyzing what you currently have. So whether it's your property portfolio, this gentleman in England had a number of properties. Some of them were cash flow positive, some of them were cash flow negative. And we helped him look at his portfolio and how he could optimize his portfolio and actually change his cash flow from minus £750 a month to positive £2,000 a month, and how he could redeploy that capital a lot more effectively. And also anyone that's part of the mastermind works with our family office. Traditionally you need about $250 million, but now you work with our family office. And the reason that that's possible is that Garth Wellman, the founder and CEO, and myself are aligned, and he said the 1% can pay for advice and get results. We need to support everyone else to get access to the same advice and results. So they help with an overall analysis of your portfolio, your pension, your tax, your structuring, and ultimately coming up with a bespoke and private solution for yourself. And, most people have stuff all over the place, and there's a huge amount of complexity and overlap. And, people get so much value by, having it all under, one roof and sort of one strategy, one plan in terms of the process. So you get clear on where you want to be. You then optimize what you have. It's then about creating a wealth plan. And to some extent, we went through that wealth plan. And then, most people don't have a plan, but even those that do have a plan are not very good at executing on that plan. And so every month we're checking in, accountability, mindset, execution, to help you make meaningful progress every month in terms of the process. And then step 5 is the investment. That's the investment knowledge. It's actually doing the investments and it's getting the results. And we're doing something really interesting at the moment, which is all about the Enneagram and wealth. And, that's how we make our decisions. And it's really, really powerful in terms of the big picture of what we're doing in the mastermind. So as Cynthia said, thank God for the mastermind, the partners it brings, and the exponential learning curve you have gifted us. So if you resonated with Jordan, the high net worth 55-year-old who's worked really hard, to build his portfolio and preserve his wealth, and everything that he wanted, building a globally diversified passive income of $5,000, $10,000, $50,000, $25,000 a month, diversifying his investments between countries, currencies, and assets, using his limited time to get effective results with predictability, saving decades of frustration and millions of dollars to get the right knowledge for him and his family, wealth protection, plan B, and peace of mind, being held accountable with an accountability partner to get results, having a family office to help manage all his financial affairs, creating generational wealth for his family, having a fully completed, executed wealth plan and investor strategy sheet, and getting results. If you resonated with this, then I would strongly recommend that you apply to join the mastermind. It's not for everybody. It is an application only, and I can see Shane has put the link up there. And what about Victoria, an entrepreneur in her 50s, devoted to family and business, aiming to build generational wealth? She's got a packed schedule, so she wants a streamlined investment strategy that empowers her to make wise decisions, aligns with her goals, and frees up her time for her grandchildren and daughters. She wants to understand the investment landscape. She's tired of being told what to do. She wants to feel empowered and make the right decisions for her and her family. And she wants financial freedom to cherish more moments with her loved ones. So again, if you resonate with Jordan, or you resonate with Victoria, or you resonate with both, then I would strongly recommend that you apply to be part of the mastermind. It is by invite only. So if you do apply, what that basically means is you will get a one-to-one interview We want to really understand what it is you're trying to achieve and make sure that we are there to help you. And equally, it's your chance to make sure that the mastermind can fulfill your needs. And if there's synergy, then, you know, we go ahead basically. But what people, you know, if you're looking at and you said you want to make a commitment, we've literally created the Wealth Action Bundle to get you started. We've then got Wealth Going Global, which is the 6-module course, which is all about the right information. You've got Asset Mastery, which is access to the right partners. And then you've got the Mastermind, which is where we work with the family office. And that's kind of the top of our tree. So, you know, again, people say, what do I do next? That's the aspirational ladder of mastery. If you want to, and you're not quite sure what to do, by joining the Mastermind, we help you go right through and up that entire curve. So in terms of taking action, you know, again, we've got a navigator, which will really help you with regards to your discovery and your next steps. And I would highly recommend that you go along and use our discovery tool. It asks some great questions in terms of your goals, what you're trying to achieve, and we can actually help you achieve that in terms of your next steps. So Shane and Alex have built that, and you know, it also allows you to meet with the team and go to the next level. So I'd highly recommend that, if nothing else, you do that and take some action. I remind you of Andrew Carnegie. It all started by making a commitment. Then he got confidence, then he got clarity, and finally got success. But it was all about making the commitment up front. And, you know, my final thoughts on this is that no one changes unless they want to. Not if you beg them, not if you shame them, not if you use reason, emotion, or tough love. There's only one thing that makes someone change, their own realization that they need to do it. And there's only one time it'll happen, when they decide they're ready. If you're ready, hopefully we've given you the solutions. I started with a question: what would it mean to you in 12 months or less to be earning a passive income without any hassle or complexity? And I then asked you, how would you like a system which would statistically help you get there 70% faster, safer, and simpler? And my question to you is, have I fulfilled your objective of answering those two questions? Yes, no. So I can see some people are saying yes. So I'm going to answer some questions now. And I saw there were a couple of questions that came through. Marina said, I can vouch for the mastermind, been brilliant so far, and I'm only 3 weeks in. I needed pain and now I have one. I needed a plan and now I have one. Marina, also, you asked about the ROI on Wealth Migrate. So yes, it's the IRR, so internal rate of return percentage that we use in the Freedom Calculator. So let's run through some questions. And again, if you're interested in what you get in the Wealth Action Bundle and taking action, Shane's put the link in there for you. But if we run through the questions and just reminding you of everything that you get, all the different bonuses. So let's just run through some questions. I've signed up to Wealth Going Global. Is it necessary to get the Wealth Action Bundle? They're two different things, to be honest. Wealth Going Global is learning about the right information. So again, if I go to the university here and I go to Wealth Going Global, you know, you've got all these different modules. So you're going to learn about how, you know, what are the top 5 countries to invest in? What are the top 5 currencies? What are the top 15 assets? How do you find the right partners and avoid 80% of the mistakes? And ultimately, how do you build a wealth plan over time? So this is all about the right information. Whereas the Wealth Action Bundle is actually about action. It's about getting started. It's about actually investing. It's about getting onto the platform. It's about making your first investment. So they're two different things. I would say you need both. I have no time. I have no money. I don't have the knowledge. What do I do? Look, I'm not going to give you advice, but hopefully I've debunked all 3 of those, you know, things that I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have the knowledge. You know, we all learn to walk by standing up, walking, falling down, standing up, walking, falling down. And that's why we created the Action Bundle, to allow people to stand up and to walk. And, you know, $27 is never going to kill anyone. And it allows you to get started and start learning and learning while doing. How long will it take for the $11 to reflect my wallet? It takes about 2 weeks, to be honest. So the reason being is that you pay on a credit card machine. That credit card machine takes 7 to 10 days for them to release the money into the bank, and then that money has to be deployed into your wallet. So just to manage expectations, it takes about 10 days to 2 weeks for the money to reflect. Why should I invest in the Action Bundle when I can just get on the platform and get started for free? You can. I suppose the best way to describe that is, do you want normal banking or do you want private banking? When you're at the airport, do you like to stand in the long queues or do you like to go through the VIP sort of section? The Action Bundles for people who want to take action and want to get priority service and get going and really make that commitment to getting results. With the global uncertainty, how does this affect whether I should invest or wait until things calm down? Sure. I mean, I could do an entire webinar about this, but what's quite interesting on the research, by the age of 65, for those investors that just continue to invest through all cycles, they tend to be 30% better off than people that try and time the market. And so, also if you go to the wealth code here, chaos equals opportunity. Like in the industrial market in America right now, there's significant opportunity within the chaos. And so often when there's uncertainty, that actually is a good time to be investing. As Warren Buffett says, be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. Why should I not just buy a property in London? Again, I could talk about this for hours, but in simple terms, do you want all your eggs in one basket? You take all your capital and you buy one apartment in London, you've got one tenant, one management agent, one income stream, one currency, one country, one asset class. It's actually significantly risky compared to diversification. And I know diversification wasn't possible 20 years ago because you had to have a hell of a lot of money, but now with technology it is. And therefore, it's really that mindset of, do you want to keep investing like a mom and pop, or do you want to invest like an institutional, sophisticated investor? How do I fund my wallet if I'm based in South Africa? Look, there's different systems you can use between currency partners and Sable and Shift. But ultimately, you externalize the money legally using your overseas allowance, and you put your money into the wallet. Can I get help with the wealth plan and the freedom calculator? Yes. If you do Wealth Going Global, I literally take you through it in terms of that process. And if you join the mastermind, you actually get it done at a bespoke level with Calio. What are the 3 Ps to investing again? So this one for me is passive income. So it's all about passive income. It's about the power of community. So it's about working together with others and partnership, basically. And it's about that learning mindset. So it's that whole logic of again, through partnership, like growing, learning, and partnering with others versus trying to figure it all out themselves. So the 3 Ps for me are, partnership, the power of community, and passive income. Can people in the UK and America invest? So America, no. You can join our mastermind if you're in America, but we can't help you on the platform because Lemonway don't allow American investors. But in the UK, yes, you can. You've got full access to everything. Mike, yes, a lot of investors use Wise to fund their wallet. Is my money safe on the platform? Look, I did try and talk to this. There's a number of different things. One is that the money is in a separate wallet, so we don't have access to the money. 2 is that the deals are all ring-fenced, so one deal can't crash and take down the other deals. 3 is you've got independent, compliance and regulatory space. 4 is that you're dealing with partners, so even if we were to disappear, your money is actually invested directly in the deal. And so if we were to disappear, although you might have more hassle, you're still invested directly in the deal, and therefore you can't, lose your money in that perspective. And, all of these things, checks and balances have been put in place to try and make sure that investors are protected. And again, nothing's guaranteed. I've certainly made mistakes. I've lost money for myself and for investors over the last 28 years. But if I stood here and I said I'd got it right for 28 years, I'd either be lying, cheating, or stealing. And that's why I tend to talk about my mistakes and my learnings and my lessons. Why would I not invest in something like Allen Gray or another financial company? Well, again, I'm not saying you should or you shouldn't. For me, it's about the maths. You know, Marina asked me just yesterday about a property. She was like, should I keep it? Should I sell it? And I was like, it's down to the maths. So what I would do is I'd say, right, what are the average returns? And I'd extrapolate that out over 10, 20, 30 years. And I'd say, well, what's the difference? You know, where am I going to be? It's something I learned from Australia 25 years ago. And it's phenomenally powerful when you can do that. Can I trust in Guernsey invest in Lemonway? Yes. So you can have offshore entities and structures, Mike. There are other companies who invest through the Seychelles, Mauritius. They say it's cheaper. Yeah, so again, you've got to be careful. One of our clients is based in Portugal, and the Seychelles and Mauritius are blacklisted by the EU. Well, they certainly were. And he couldn't get access to any of his money, because the money was in the Seychelles. How do I get my money out of the investment? So again, remember that you're buying an investment. It's a 5-year, say for example, a 5-year hold. So you earn the income for the whole period of the investment, and then at the end, the property gets sold and you get your capital growth back. How do you make money? I did explain that. So there's a 3% transaction fee up front and a 10% performance fee. So we make money after you make money. Does the fees you earn come off the final amount after the term ends? Yes. So when we show you the income and any returns, they're always net. So I don't see the point of people telling, these massive, really sexy looking numbers, and then all the fees come off. Everything that we do is net. So you know what your net income is, your net return. So that's after fees. Scott mentioned cash on cash after tax. Elaborate if possible, please. So what I was talking about there was that if you go back to the freedom calculator, you'll notice, and obviously you can, depending on what country you're in, we put 30% there, but I mean, you can change that based on tax, because you need to take tax into account. How do I get a grip on the terminologies and asset classes? Well, Shane shared with you the resources page. So you should have the resources page here with access to everything, all the different resources, etc. So all the different steps and the resources. So yeah, very useful document that he shared with you there. Where is Wealth Hackers? Wealth Hackers is a community. So, we're all over the world, and it's a community of people that are, driving ahead and ultimately wanting to create the freedom in their lives that they want, to live a life unlimited, etc. Can we have wallets open for our children? This is an interesting one, depending on what country you come from. But I'm a big believer where there's a will, there's a way. I mean, I've done it, so I know it's possible. When will there be another workshop? We do these regularly, although we are also going to do this on demand now, so that people can watch it and do a course, and basically, so that we're not waiting for the next workshop. You can literally get going as and when you're ready. Can we have a tutorial explanation of the calculator? I did go through it today. I do go through it again in the WealthE Global in terms of the detail of how to use it. Is there a mobile app for the Wealth Migrate platform? No, not at the moment. We find that more than 80% of people use their laptops like I did to invest. And so our website is mobile friendly. I mean, you can do it on a phone, but we tend to find that people prefer it off the laptop. Can my personal banking details be easily changed, for example, to an account in the Netherlands? So yes, as long as you don't change the name. So if my bank account's in the name of Scott Picken and I change it to another bank account in the name of Scott Picken, then there'll be no problem, because there's no money laundering problems. But if you try and change it to a different name, then it won't be possible. Can the investments be made by a trust? So the answer is yes. So international trusts and whatever is no problem. If you're in South Africa, you can't use a South African PTY Limited or a South African trust to invest. 4 hours does not make you an investor. Seen so many people go to seminars, rush out and burn their fingers. What next? That's exactly the point. That's why we created the action bundle, because we got tired. I've been doing this 20 years, and I got tired of people coming to me going, "Oh, Scott, I saw you 10 years ago, and I wish I took action." So what we've done with the Action Bundle is just literally make it a no-brainer for people to get started. Did you say there's an affiliate program as an opportunity to get others on board? So yes, we actually run an affiliate program called First Promoter. So if you want to be part of that, Shane, maybe if you can just give the link basically, but we've got an entire digital back-end system that we use if you're interested in becoming an affiliate. What is the possibility of buying property in South Africa? Look, we've got partners on the ground in South Africa, but we don't have South African properties on our platform. If you are interested in South Africa and there's a big enough demand for it, I am thinking of doing a challenge on South African property as well. And Shane, thanks for putting the link to the affiliates in the chat box. Okay, do I simply add Wealth Migrate to my will one day when I die, or does Wealth Migrate have a letter of wishes set up for one day when I pass away? So yeah, it's effectively no different to any other asset. So whatever assets you earn, what you've got in terms of your will, you need to get that set up just like any other asset. For how long will this offer last while still sourcing funds? So, I mean, look, in terms of the Wealth Action Bundle, our intention is to have it up for the next couple of days. But on purpose and very consciously, we take it away because we want people to take action and get started. We don't want you to be dreaming and talking about it in a year's time. What if you already have a Wealth Migrate account and take the Wealth Action Bundle? Perfect. Then we will help you get started and we will fund your wallet so that you can get going on the investment. Do you suggest investing a lot smaller amounts rather than a large amount? It depends. Diversification is key. So, if you've got $100,000 and you maybe put $25,000 into 4 different deals in 4 different countries and whatever, then you're starting to get diversification across countries, currencies, assets, partners, time. So it's all about diversification. What are the tax implications? This is a very hard one to answer because obviously it's different for different people. Everyone's unique and in different countries. But we have set up the structures to be as tax efficient as possible. So yeah, in terms of that process. And again, if you work at our mastermind level, you work with Calio and they actually help you with your own tax and structuring. And that is all the questions that were in the PowerPoint that Shane put up. And I just want to see here, I can see the Q&A. I want to see if there's any questions here. After investing, when do I get to spend our income? I'm a big spender, high returns with low hassle does it for me. So, Fulafelo, I think I'm hopefully pronouncing your name right. Again, you're earning that income back in your wallet and you can spend it or you can reinvest it, but it's your money, you get to choose. Mom and pop can apply for OPM, other people's mortgages, institutional needs capital. So, Jock, that's not the truth. In all those deals that I told you, in fact, I'm going to go to the slide here quickly. We are partnering with partners on the ground that are getting commercial mortgages. So they are getting other people's money. And so it's a very important mindset because people are like, oh, but if I buy a house, I can get a mortgage. Well, what about one better than that? What about if you partner with someone and someone like Judd can get very good finance in America with a 7-year fix at far better returns terms than you and I can get, then that's how an institutional sophisticated investor invested. So again, you look here, on this new age thing, the bank is putting in 60% of the money. How does one leverage this type of investing? Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like it is, each one is being leveraged. Jacques, you're not being forced to be mom and pop. That's a mindset, and I'm challenging you on purpose. But you have every ability to invest in Germany and America and whatever, and to use leveraging. Fulafelo, we do community meetups once a month. The Wealth Hackers, so it's actually the last Friday of every month, so it's actually tomorrow. where we'll do a Q&A. And can we select any other countries? We've only got investments in Europe, England, Australia, and America at the moment in terms of the overall process. Okay, right, let me see if I've answered everyone's questions. How can we see on the platform whether it's monthly payment or quarterly? You can't, Marina. It's you need to read the terms. It's very seldom. In fact, the only one that we got monthly is the DWG one. The rest are all quarterly. So it's generally written in the term sheet in terms of the process. How long after you put your money into a deal do you start earning? Again, that depends on different deals. So as an example, the one in America, the industrial deal, we already own the asset and it's already performing and paying an income. So, it would be a month or two. Whereas the German deal, it's going to take, 2 to 3 months for it to close and to own the asset. And then, they've still got to earn the income, etc. So, that one will probably be like you'll invest and you'll start earning your income about 6 months. In terms of the process. Can you explain the year table on each project? I don't really understand what it's telling me. Can you explain the year table? So I assume you're talking about this. So if I go to a deal, I assume you're talking about the investment table here. Yeah, basically, if I invest, let's just use 10,000 because it's easy. So if I invest 10,000, what it's basically saying is that, I'm going to be earning this cash flow. So in green, that's my income that I'm getting minus my expenses in red. And so that's my net return. And then you can see here that in year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, I'm getting that net income return. And then in year 5, we're selling the building. So then I'm getting my capital back, plus I'm getting my capital growth, minus the success fee, and then I get a net return. And it shows you the overall projected return. Does that help? Okay, so let's go back to this. Are there any other questions? Anything else I can help with? Shane, anything from your side that I've forgotten?
Nope, I think you've covered everything.
Excellent. Well, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. If you have enjoyed it, as I say, please go to Trustpilot and leave us a review. Our passion is to put smart investing in every single person's pocket. We've given you the action bundle as a kind of a no-brainer way to get started. And, from my perspective, I'm a big believer in us living a life unlimited. So having the freedom to make the decisions you want for you and your family. And, I just want to say thank you. It's always an honor and a privilege to be able to present and to share this knowledge with you. And it's been a 28-year journey for me. I've made lots of mistakes along the way. And I often believe that it's the mistakes I can share with you that can help you avoid those mistakes. Things like 14 years of trying to do it all on my own, to realizing in the last decade, what a massive difference it makes when you partner with others in terms of reducing risk, increasing return and, removing complexity from your life. And so if these are things that resonate with you, I look forward to coming on a journey. I started off this presentation by talking about Kilimanjaro and how we got very clear on the fact we wanted to climb the tallest mountain in Africa. We didn't just walk up any mountain, we walked up Kilimanjaro. So for me, that's very important for you to get clear on your plan. What is your passive income goal that you're aiming for? Secondly, we had Chifu. Chifu walked that journey and had done it many, many times before and could assist us and help us even when things didn't go right. Thirdly, we were a group of people. We weren't doing it on our own. And that, there's a power in that community to achieve a lot more than you think you can achieve on your own. And fourthly, we got the goal. And I believe there's a huge parallel to this journey that we're on in terms of the wealth space. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you can see the parallel to the journey and the story. And my invitation is, if you want to come on that journey, then we would highly welcome you. And maybe myself and the team can be your chifu. If you're interested, you've got the Wealth Action Bundle to get started. If you resonate with the mastermind, then apply to come and join the mastermind. But either way, do something. Because as Andrew Carnegie taught us, it's the commitment that is going to get you there in the end. Have a wonderful day, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck.